Welcome everyone to episode 40. I gotta, I gave it a long thought about who to use for 40, but given that this guy is coming up on the end of his career, it's got to be the Udonis Haslam episode tonight,
Oh, dear
boys.
Lord.
No, we ain't doing that.
It's the Rain Man. It's the Rain Man episode.
Yeah, it's Sean
Sean
Kemp.
Kemp. I forgot to wear my
Forgot about
jersey.
Sean Kemp. Forgot
Yeah,
about Sean
dude.
Kemp.
That's
But
obvious.
it's also the 40-40 episode, and I wanted to ask you guys a trivia question. Who are the only four Major League Baseball players to ever go 40-40 in a season?
40 what?
40 homers and 40 steals in the same season.
40 ham pies and
Oh, God,
you
dude.
said what was it? Home runs and what steals?
Homers and steals. Four players in the history of baseball have done it in a season.
At the risk of sounding stupid from the people from yesteryear that we didn't see, but Ernie Banks, maybe?
No, you're going back too far. Probably
Barry
looking
Bonds?
at you're looking at 1987 through 2006. It was all in
Bonds.
that.
Okay.
Bonds has to be one.
Bonds is one.
Right? Is my
Griffey?
man Carlos Beltran one?
Griffey's not one. Beltran's not one. Beltran was probably close.
Trout?
No, Trout's not.
Oh, you said from 0 to 06, you said?
Yeah, I think 06 was the last
Oh,
one.
never mind. How about that? Jim Edmonds?
Nope. There's one more pretty obvious one, and the other two are
A-Rod?
Oh, Kenny Lofton.
Lofton ain't hit no 40 home runs.
In his career,
We're still waiting for him to have 40 home runs. Did A-Rod do it?
A-Rod is the other obvious one I figured you would get.
And then so wait a minute. So we got Bonds, A-Rod, and then who else we got?
John Olerud.
Benny Agbayani. John Olerud. Remember he used to wear the batter's hat
in the field.
I remember having like MLB baseball on the Game Gear, the Sega Game Gear, and I used to pick the Mariners all the time because they had Griffey. Yeah. And John Olerud was so damn slow. That little dot used to take forever to get around the big bat.
His glove was nice though. His glove was real nice.
But the other two answers were the steroid-laden Jose Canseco.
Wow.
He stole 40 bases
in the 1980s. And how about that Alfonso Soriano?
I wouldn't have got that.
Yo, Canseco was kind of svelte back in the 80s.
Him and McGuire shoving needles up each other's butts.
They were so fake.
You
remember what was the game? Was it MVP baseball or whatever, or Roger Clemens? What was the one back in the day? And Canseco literally his bicep was like the whole batter's box. It was ridiculous.
Was it World Series baseball?
No, it was before that. It was the game that was hot before World Series baseball.
I don't know.
Yeah, on Sega.
RBI baseball?
Might have been that.
Maybe.
Might have been that.
I have a big announcement. Al, you're teasing it. You don't even know it. I got the go-ahead yesterday. If you want some 3K podcast gear, the shop is open. We have, the ability, the hoodies, hats, T-shirts, golf shirts. You want to represent the 3K brand? Al, tell them that hoodie is a quality hoodie.
It's a quality hoodie. Look, I have one. The 1E is kind of coming off. I think that might be user error. I think that might have been Casey doing the laundry. Maybe doing the heat a little too high.
Cheap prices. We could get you the hoodies for $35. So it's a steal.
Make sure you read the tag on how to care for the garments if you buy one.
Reach out to us on Twitter. I think the way to do it is
to wash it on the inside out of the.
I always put my shirts, everything inside out. Casey bitches at me because she's like, "Oh, then when I'm folding it, I gotta write."
No, it sucks to fold it, but to preserve the graphics.
Yeah, 100%. That's an old school thing from when we were kids. From where buying the basketball jerseys, the champion basketball jerseys, you had to inside out those.
Yeah.
In the wash, where those things came right off.
Yeah.
100%. Folding the laundry is such a difficult task. It's just
I'll be honest. I don't even something like underwear. I don't even fold it. I just throw it in the drawer and it's done.
Damn, dude, savage. Just throwing a little 3K podcast in the background. Fold your clothes and move about your business. Go back.
I mean, what's the point of spending like 5 minutes folding drawers? Like God forbid that you what's the difference in just grabbing a pair of underwear versus a pair of folded underwear?
All right, listen. I've been a little slow on the Instagram lately. I need you guys to send me pictures of your underwear drawers, and I'm going to post a pic of our underwear drawers.
Who did it better?
But let's get into tonight's episode. The Sixers season wraps up this weekend. Two somewhat entertaining basketball games, be it meaningless as they let the bench squad have at it this weekend. But Sixers finished the season 54-28, 42-16 after the 12-12 start. Joel Embiid likely to win MVP based on everything we're seeing on Twitter in regards to votes that have already come in. Seems to have a commanding lead. Finishes the season at 33 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists on 55% shooting from the field, 86 from the line, 33% from three. James Harden wins the assist title at 10.7 per game. Sixers finished third in the NBA in offensive rating, 8th in defensive rating, 19th in rebounding. They have the best three-point percentage in the league. They have the best free throw percentage in the league. All in all, if I came to you before the season and I gave you all that information, would you say it was a successful season? And where do you rank it having watched it now? I'll throw it to Chris first.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, Seltzer, or Al, but I know Seltzer, you're doing the prep for this. I feel like I think I saw before that there's only 3 teams in the league that finished top 10 in offensive and defensive ratings. And I think it was like the Sixers, the Celtics, and the Cavs.
That's correct.
So, I mean, I'm pretty sure the Cavs ain't going nowhere. But you never know. But putting the Sixers and the Celtics, that seems to be the matchup that we're all heading for. That could be really ultimately for a lot of stuff, not just that round, because I think they both can beat Milwaukee and whoever comes out the West. But anyway, also Harden and Embiid, first teammates to lead in points per game and assists for the season since George Gervin and Johnny Moore, I think his name was, in 1982.
Yep.
So we got some history going on with the boys. I think it was a success overall in the season, the regular season.
Yep.
But to encompass the entire 2022-23 year, we know what it is. We know what we got to do. So if we don't do that,
what is that? What do they have?
We gotta at least get past the second round. And this is pathetic. Like we sound like we got a team that is what, 4th in the league in the NBA in wins.
Yeah.
And a championship caliber team, and we're still finding ourselves saying get out the second round. It sucks, but that's where we're at with them. They have to do that, otherwise I still feel like we have to make some significant changes to this organization if we still fail to do that. Even though we're going to play Boston, more likely than not, in that second round, and I know they're a tough team, they're probably the best team in basketball. Listen, some life ain't fair, you know, and that's what's in front of them. They got to handle it. If they don't, I still think change has got to come.
This is the 9th year since we started the process, pretty much 9th or 10th year. And to say that this would be a successful season if we simply make it to the Eastern Conference Finals is, excuse my French, a chicken shit take. And I'm not saying that directly at you, Chris.
I know. I agree with you. It sucks.
As a fan base, we cannot let this organization get away with this anymore. We're turning into the Flyers fan base, the Flyers fans, where the Flyers can do anything. They can come in last place in the league, and they're still going to support that team and act like they're a Stanley Cup, contender every year. Look, it's time. This team has to make the NBA Finals, and that's the only way that this season is a success. Chris, you said it. Adam left the word out. He left the word regular out. Was this a successful regular season? Sure. They finished 4 games back of first place. They did what they needed to do. They gelled. They learned how to play with each other. Joel Embiid and James Harden on that what I read today, that pick and roll when Joel sets an off-ball screen for James, it's like the highest percentage of points in the league
the most wins they've had in 22 years.
Right. So was it a successful regular season? Of course, but we know this. Everything hinges on what happens in the playoffs. They cannot lose in the first or second round. And in my opinion, I can't see them. If they want to call it a successful season, if they lose in the Eastern Conference Finals, that to me is not a successful season. I don't care who they see there.
Would you venture to say that anything short of, well, how about this? Is there a threshold of completion for the Sixers this year to have Harden still say he wants to stay here and not go to Houston?
I think the NBA Finals. I think that's a surefire he stays here. I would say 90%. But I think Eastern Conference Finals, you're 50-50, and anything less than that, he might be walking.
So you want to? Yeah, go ahead.
So what happens? I agree with the fact that it's a bit disappointing season. For me, they have to at least beat Boston for me to, and then we'll see what happens against Milwaukee and how that wraps up. I'm not sure. But as far as running it back, assuming Harden wants to, let's say they lose to Boston in 7. Boston beats Milwaukee in 5, and then Boston wins the title in 5. Are you willing to run it back with this same group if that situation plays itself out?
No, because Boston's where are they going? They're not going
to. We don't know what happens with Jaylen Brown. But can you, if you let James Harden go, I don't know if you can necessarily get better given the contract situation. You would get worse.
You have to run it back because we've said it this year many times on the pod that one of the problems with this organization is that they've changed the role players around Joel every year. They've never given a one of these rosters time to gel. This team is finally gelled, and it's the best roster they've had, top to bottom, in the process age, whatever you want to call this. So I would run it back even if we did lose to Boston in the second round.
Yeah, I think Chris and I are on a different page than you there, and we could talk more about this in Sixers offseason. I am against bringing Harden back next year.
Yeah, I just don't know how you improve. Like, how do you improve?
I don't know if you can, but I'm looking at the situation as though the last time the Sixers were in this situation where it was, well, we have to re-sign this guy to a max contract because our hands are tied and we don't have anything else we can do, is when they signed Tobias Harris to the max contract because Jimmy Butler had left and they had just traded all these assets and they were like, well, we can't let both of these guys get away. And now we're sitting here wishing we didn't have Tobias Harris on a max contract. I think those type of decisions long-term get you in trouble. And if 2 years from now, James Harden is washed, Embiid's asking out anyway, and then you're even more screwed.
The difference is, though, is that you had Tobias Harris or you had Jimmy Butler. With this scenario, you have James Harden or you have what? What's option B?
Well, I don't necessarily think that it was Jimmy Butler or Tobias. Like, you could have let Tobias walk and you would have had cap space in that situation.
Right. That's what I was going to say. The cap space would have been an opportunity that you could have taken on in that situation too. And Seltzer's right. We talked about this off air, but Harden's only going to get more inconsistent and older. He's not getting any younger, and he's not going to get any better. He is what he is. He's always going to be, from here on out, one injury away, one play away, even from just being done, honestly. And if you pay this guy a raise at how old is he? 34?
33.
33?
Yep.
If you pay him a more, because he already helped us out last year. He ain't doing it again. So he's going to want what he's at least worth and more. He did lead the league in assists just now this year. So his best belief he's going to use that in negotiations. While averaging 20 a game. So he's not going to give any hometown discounts. We could be talking about a moot point. I really feel like Harden's already made his mind up. He's not staying here. I think he really wants to go back to Houston, especially if they win the lottery and they get Wembanyama, especially if they get a guy like Nick Nurse to be their next head coach. They're quietly in the weeds, I feel like, potentially being a team that's about to blow up again in a good way. And I think he recognizes that. If we come short again, coming up short especially for a guy like him who wasn't involved with the process at all. He doesn't have the equity that was put into that, just the blood, sweat, and tears at all. Why would he want to go through figuring it out any further than he has to?
Why? I still don't understand why Houston would want him back in that situation. Like, they're a rebuilding.
That's a whole different argument and conversation. I agree with you, but I'm not even saying like because to me, I don't know why he'd want to go back there. I don't know why. Like, there's still, even with that plan in place, there's still, in my opinion, at least 2, 3 years away from being legit. So, and that's assuming they get the number 1 pick. They might not even get it. They might end up getting 2 or 3, which is still a good pick. You're going to still get Brandon Miller or Scoot Henderson, but that's a whole different ballgame than getting the generational talent like Wembanyama is supposed to be. So, I think that would entice him a lot. But you would think getting a chance to play another year with arguably the best player in the world, would also be enticing. In front of this passionate fan base that we have, everybody's different. And we know if he got paid, he's definitely a high prime candidate to get the bag and forget to play basketball.
Here's my hot take for the Sixers. And again, we could talk more about it in the offseason. I think Jimmy Butler will be a Philadelphia 76er next year. Why is that funny?
Wow.
Go ahead, explain your logic.
I think, having watched Miami basketball and even hearing some rumblings, he's very frustrated with the year that they had down there. I think you've seen him and Spoelstra kind of butt heads a little bit. Jimmy has that reputation with butting heads with anybody. And I wouldn't be surprised if he asked out of Miami this year.
What makes you think, even if he did, that first of all, I will say this,
because if he did, and the Sixers season, we're assuming the Sixers season ends in some sort of second round defeat at this point.
Right.
That's where I'm going with this. There's already rumblings about Joel being the next major star to ask out in the event that
that's what people are hoping for.
Who's the guy that Joel Embiid loves more than anybody?
No, I agree with I hear you.
He loves Jimmy Butler. And if James Harden leaves, and again, maybe Houston is not in the market for James Harden, would James Harden like playing in Miami? Could you see a sign and trade for those two?
Well, for the record, I'm saying what everybody wants, meaning like the people outside of Philadelphia, not the Sixers fans ourselves. I don't think anybody wants to hear Embiid say he wants out. I'm saying I think that the other people around the league. I get your logic, and I also would say, even to add to your point, when he did the whole like Tobias Harris over me thing, that's pain in that comment. Like, he was pissed off by that. And there's a reason, because he wanted to be here. I believe that. I believe that he was just, for all accounts he was willing to stay if he got that max. They did not want him to negotiate with any other teams for that max. And he said, I'm a grown man. I'm not going to sit up there and basically be a slave to what you want me to do. You can't hold that kind of guy in a box like that. Having said that, I do think, it's mutual love that he has for Embiid, just like Joel has for him. I just feel like I just don't see that happening. I don't see Miami. You said for Harden, the sign and trade, you said?
Yeah, something along those lines. Again, we're getting ahead of ourselves because this is supposed to be a playoff preview.
I know. What's this conversation?
I think that's a hopeful thing. Right. I don't know if it's an actual possibility, but crazier things have happened. Look, we're hearing now. I know we're gonna get to that later on, but we're hearing Trae Young's on the block. We're hearing Luka might be on the block next year. Jaylen Brown doesn't know where he wants to be. Dame doesn't know where he wants to. Like, NBA, a lot of stuff's going on right now.
NBA is a crazy sport. But let me ask you this. Let's transition it back to playoffs before we get into the actual Nets Sixers series. Who's the bigger key to the playoff run? Is it Harden or is it Embiid?
There's only one answer to this question. It's Joel Embiid.
I was going to say, if you listen to this podcast regularly, you know that between the two of you, God forbid if Embiid had 20 points a game, that would not nearly be enough.
Chris,
that's not enough. Are you for real?
Exactly. That's my point is, we've talked about it ad nauseum, how important he is all year long. So why would we change that thought now?
Joel Embiid averaged 33 and 10 this year. For his career, he averages 27 and 11. Any idea what he averages in the playoffs?
I'm sure you'll tell us.
You're darn right I will. So in the regular season, he's 27 and 11 on 50% shooting from the field. In the playoffs, he's 24 and 11 on 46% shooting from the field, 30% from three. But I dug a little bit deeper.
Okay.
In the playoff series losses, he averages 21 points a game on 42% shooting from the field. I understand that there was injuries, but that is unacceptable. If I gave you those numbers without telling you it was Joel Embiid, he would be the 15th person on that roster that you would have guessed of putting up those numbers.
And I would imagine his minutes have to be higher in the playoffs too.
Yeah, I didn't look at them. I didn't do the numbers on them, but I'm sure they are.
Yeah, he has something to prove. We've had this discussion many, many times. This is the year he needs to go on that run and prove that he's the man.
And it looks like he's going to win the MVP award. So if there's a year where he has to do it, it's this year. He has to do it. He has to put the team on his back, and he has to bring those playoff averages up. 24-11, 21, 42% shooting. That's not going to do it. It's not going to do it.
But I'll add this. We've seen, I mean, maybe we haven't seen it. There's no team in the NBA that has one guy that can do it all by himself. And I feel confident that Joel will have a good postseason. But I don't think this team gets over the hump unless we get James Harden we saw in the middle of the season. I don't think Joel can do it by himself. You guys, so James Harden may be the more important piece because I'm not sure what I'm getting from James.
I feel like we're in an age where these teams, you're right. Nobody can do it by themselves. You're going to need, even when the Bucks won a couple years back, like Middleton, Drew, those guys, they were exceptional to that title run. The Warriors all those years having, Clay and Steph and all the other cast characters they've had. We have to have Harden play big. We have to have Maxey play big. I'll tell you right now, this series coming up is whatever. I think we can win it. I honestly could see us sweeping the series. The Boston series, Maxey's a huge integral part to that series. And if he doesn't figure out how to play against Boston, we're in trouble regardless of what Embiid does. Because they're going to be a team, especially is Robert Williams coming back anytime soon?
Yeah, he's playing. He's been
okay,
playing.
So he's I'm saying coming back as far as being himself. I'm saying.
I don't know I don't think you'll see the Robert Williams, but he's going to be a 20 to 25 minute guy for them.
So but even still, between him and Horford being out there, they're going to have a situation where they're going to do the best they can to lock up Embiid. But Embiid's had a good year this year against Boston. They might be like, yo, we'll let Embiid get his, lock up everybody else. And if they have that mindset, the guards have to play and step up big time. And Maxey is just as equally important to that as Harden is, in my opinion. He doesn't play. I mentioned this to you, Seltzer, and Al a while ago. He doesn't play as fast against Boston. I wish he would play fast against them. He sort of gets settled and getting the ball at the top of the key or wherever and just having a one-on-one matchup. He's not getting by Smart. He's not getting by Brogdon. Derek White. He's not getting by those guys on a one-on-one right now. He has to get by them by just catching it and going or catching it and spotting up. And he hasn't done enough of that. And I think that that's a big reason why he's had issues with that defense specifically. But he's a huge part of this.
You're 100% correct. Last 3 games against Boston, he scored 6, 8, and 5 points.
I was there the other night. Yeah, when he had 5 points the other night. And he wasn't even close to being impactful in that game.
Right. But I can't sit here and say either one of those two are more important. If Joel Embiid goes out and lays an egg again,
sure.
Neither one of those two are going to be able to put that team on their back for 4 wins.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
Game,
I'm just saying as far as the supplemental piece is concerned.
Yeah.
I mean, Embiid's number 1. You're right.
I would say Maxey's probably the X factor in that series, right? Like the guy that can potentially swing a game because he's either shooting well or he's putting up 5 points.
He needs to be more than an X factor. You're right, Chris. He needs to be a guy you can count on. Tobias Harris has become an X factor.
He has, and he played well against Boston this year, I feel like.
Yeah, but you know what? Tobias is what he is. I don't even care. We get at it. I can't. I'm tired of being frustrated by the playoffs. Like last year, he had a good playoff run. I will say that Tobias was really good for the most part in the playoffs. But in big games in the regular season and fourth quarters, also in playoff situations previously, I'm exhausted with saying, why isn't Tobias doing Tobias the friendly ghost? And he's I'm tired of that. I can't do it.
To be fair, his role this year is completely different. He just doesn't get the opportunities this year. And he hasn't done a ton with them but his role is he's only getting 8 shots a game. 7, 8 shots. He's playing 35 minutes. I'll be curious to see, in situations in the playoffs where if he's not playing well and either a Niang or a McDaniels is playing well, if come crunch time, Tobias will be on the bench, or is there situations where they're going to go Melton, Maxey, Harden, Tucker, Embiid,
maybe
and
even
Tobias will be sitting.
Maybe even McDaniels and Tucker together with Embiid.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I said that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But
I like my man McDaniels. I we were a little hot and cold with Jalen. I like McDaniels.
We're gonna see come playoff time. I don't dislike the talent. I think he's raw and he has some skills. Playoff basketball is a different thing, and he's never tasted it. So we're gonna have to see how he reacts in that situation. And he's gonna have to make corner threes because they're gonna leave him open.
I think you're right. And I think that, and you would say this the other night, and I disagree with it. The last 2 games are very important that we had because it's getting guys like McDaniels the confidence that they need to start this run. Some of those young players, like the Paul Reeds of the world, who keep going, hot and cold with game to game with his minutes or with his production, whatever. Him, McDaniels, Niang, my boy Niang, and I say that sarcastically, but he's had a good last couple games.
Well, and
those guys need the confidence.
And we've skipped right past talking about the first round matchup with the Brooklyn Nets, but this is where Doc needs to step up now. I think he needs to get those guys going in this series. Look, we're a better team than the Brooklyn Nets. We should not have any issues dispatching of them in
top to bottom.
Six or less. I'm hoping for a 5-game series, but I would love, Chris, to see a Jalen McDaniels get going in that series. I would love to see George Niang get going in that series, a Paul Reed get going in that series, because the one guy, Adam, that you didn't ask about when you mentioned who's the most important person in this playoff run, could it be Doc?
That's a great point.
Right?
And he's definitely going to be the better, you would think, on paper at least, the better coach in the first round matchup. Against Jacques Vaughn, who's a good coach. I think Jacques Vaughn is a nice little coach, but he's not he shouldn't be on the level of Rivers in the sense of, if we're having a series and Rivers is getting out coached by Jacques Vaughn, something's going terribly. That's gonna be the last straw.
Yeah, that's trouble.
Why is Doc such a better coach when the stars don't play? There's been many times this year where they've only had 1 star or 0 stars. For instance, the Nets game earlier this year when they didn't have Maxey, Harden, or Embiid, and he just seems to coach do a way better job. He seems more into the games. I was watching the end of the Hawks game the other night. He's up, he's clapping, he's laughing. Yeah. He's enjoying himself.
He didn't mean anything with the standings.
You think that's what it is? Like he's just loosey-goosey at that point?
I think it's on I want to give credit more to the players. I think the players play hard in spite of those guys, especially in spite of him, because they're hungry. Those dudes, listen, I love watching our deep bench play. Like, those guys are hungry for minutes. The Springers of the world, I've been preaching about Springer for a while now at this point. And every time I see him, it's always been in garbage time, but he's still been okay. Now he played, was it Friday night against the Hawks?
Man, he played a good game.
Put work in, man. And more importantly, he put work in defensively.
He's good.
He is going to be, I'm telling you right now, he's going to be a premier defensive player in this league. I'm telling you. And I don't want to see him do it somewhere else.
I was going to say for the 76ers, or
that's the problem.
Yeah.
And he's going to end up here's the interesting thing too. Sunday, allegedly,
don't get me started on the organization on Sunday.
Allegedly, he only played a handful of minutes because they wanted to preserve him.
First of all,
why would they? Is he going to play in the playoffs, my man?
I don't.
He's gonna get burned.
The organization, they just lie to you. All they do is lie. You got to use it. First of all, he played 2 minutes, and they said they wanted to rest him. Think about it this way: if he was only going to play 2 minutes, why did they play him at all?
I'm sipping all the Kool-Aid on Springer, dude. I'm sipping all.
And second of all, he's 20 years old. It's the last game of the year for him. What does he need a rest for?
I think as far as keeping him away from getting hurt.
Then why did he play 2 minutes? Just make him inactive.
I agree.
What are they doing?
I agree. They think we're morons. I know. I'm just kind of doing.
He probably got hurt.
Yeah, but why hide it though? At the same time,
I don't know. It's like the
they're
Embiid
so
Cam
weird.
thing at the Bulls game.
Yeah, they're so weird.
They're so weird.
I will say, and my boy Mac showed up. McClung with almost messed around, got a triple double.
Yeah, 20, right?
29 and 8.
Yeah. Let's talk Nets series a little bit because we do have that coming up. Vegas odds Sixers minus 800.
Oh, went down.
Nets plus 560. Sixers were 4-0 against the Nets this season. I don't think that means anything. Pretty much the first game, the Sixers beat the Nets without Harden, Embiid, and Maxey. You remember that was Ben Simmons' return to Philadelphia. Second game, the Sixers beat the Nets. The Nets still pre-trade with no Kevin Durant on the floor. Game 3 was probably the closest thing we're going to see to what we'll see in this playoff, but the Nets roster was, I think it was the second game with the Mikal Bridges, Spencer Dinwiddie group, and the Sixers closed that one out in a close one. And then obviously game 4 was the last game on Sunday where neither team played any players. Nets finished the season 45 and 37. They're 13 and 15 since the trade. Starting 5 that you're going to see, if you're not a true NBA fan, you're going to see Spencer Dinwiddie, Mikal Bridges, Dorian Finney-Smith, Cam Johnson, and Nick Claxton. Not a ton of really household names, but you will see Seth Curry off the bench a little bit, former Sixer, as well as Royce O'Neal, Joe Harris, and Shaedon Sharpe. You guys see any problems potentially in the series?
What about Cam Thomas? Isn't he going to get any minutes? The 40-point machine?
I said Shaedon Sharpe. I meant Deron Sharpe. They don't play Cam Thomas.
Listen, I will.
I don't get it.
Well, you know why? Because
he's a gunner.
I was a big Cam Thomas fan in the draft when he came out. Since he's been there, I've seen that dude. He is straight up LA Fitness status. That dude is on the court to jack.
Yeah.
Has no interest in playing team basketball whatsoever. He literally shot what? 5? I think it was like 5 shots in a row at one point in the fourth quarter, trying to get to that 46 points. Here's things you got to know about Cameron Thomas. During that situation, first of all, the Sixers doubled him. Okay, in a game that probably did nothing overall, they were proud they doubled him. 2, Brooklyn didn't go out of their way to get him that ball. He went up and got the ball on his own and jacked up shots when he got the ball. So he didn't really have a lot of supportive teammates in that situation. That tells me a lot, too, about probably what they think about that dude. Obviously, I could be wrong. I'm not in their locker room. But what it looks like from the outside in is he's a jack. He's kind of a selfish player on the court. And his teammates seem to support that hypothesis by their actions in that game on Sunday.
When they beat the Celtics by 10 last month, he saw 7 minutes on the floor. He took 4 shots, was 0 for 4. He was the only player on the Nets with a minus and the plus minus.
Yeah, he has no interest in defense.
He was a minus 14 in 7 minutes.
Yeah, he has no interest in basketball. He wants to literally just go out there and jack and score. That's all he wants to do. To answer your question, Seltzer, no, I don't see any. I think I'm actually predicting a sweep, and I rarely do that. But I think it's going to be a 4-game series. I don't see the best player on their team. You're asking him as if you're a Nets fan to be the guy against Joel Embiid, James Harden, Maxey, Tobias, the whole thing. Like in a playoff situation, that's the first time he, meaning Bridges, has had to be the guy on a team in a playoff situation. That's a lot of pressure, and that's a lot of work that he's got to put in that he's never had to put in before.
Bridges had been awesome since coming over to Brooklyn. 27 points per game, 1.4 point per shot. But he did start to wear down towards the end of the season. He was a 1.03 points per shot in April. And you're right, Chris. The playoffs is a different beast. And when teams are game planning for you and you're not an elite shot creator, and I'm not ready to call Mikal Bridges an elite shot creator, I think that you're going to struggle in the half court.
Yeah, and that's my point. Is like even if he got off and did and averaged 25 a game this series, then what do they got? Dinwiddie?
Yeah.
Right.
Then what? Seth Curry? It's
Cam
a
Johnson's
finite
a
amount
nice
of weapons.
player, but you're right.
And who the hell is going to guard Joel Embiid? Because Nick Claxton's one of those guys who talks a big game, like he can stay with him. And Embiid's going to body him, dude. Embiid might drop 40 a game in that series.
100%.
Here's the thing, I'm a Claxton guy. He's not ready to guard. You know what it reminds me a lot of is when the Sixers played Brooklyn a few years ago, and Embiid was beating up on Jared Allen before Jared Allen grew into his body. Yeah. And I think Claxton 2 or 3 years from now will have more of a body to be able to at least put some weight on Joel. But right now, again, I think you'll see Claxton get a block or two because he's so athletic and long that he'll have a highlight here or there. Yeah. But over the course of the series, when Joel Embiid's leaning on you for 38 minutes, you got no shot.
He doesn't have the technique or the experience.
And here's the other thing. I didn't even realize that, dude, they don't have a backup big.
No, they don't.
Sharp is the backup center, and that dude can't play.
No, and the only chance that Brooklyn has is literally, I think they have to shoot above 50% from 3 every game. That's the only chance that I think they have to make this even an interesting series. If they get like Seth going, Joe Harris, Mikhail, like if those guys can just be red hot and stay hot all series, that's the only chance they have to make it interesting. I don't see them being able to do that.
I have my notes. If this series goes more than 5 games, then the Sixers are just in trouble.
Yeah.
I could see one game, Chris, you mentioned it. Could you see a game where Cam Johnson hits 7 threes and scores 35 and we lose?
But to your point, they don't play him in real
not Cam Thomas, Cam Johnson.
Oh, Cam Johnson. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't even thinking about him as far as the 3-point shot making. Yeah, like he's another guy that has to stay hot the whole time.
Right. And so, I mean, they could lose a game where, again, you said it, where Brooklyn shoots the lights out. But this series should not go any more than 5 games. This is of all the teams in the East, this is the best matchup the Sixers could have asked for in the first 100%. Round.
There's only one key thing for the Sixers for this series, and it's stay healthy. That's it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't think this is going to be. I mean, look, crazier things have happened. But this would be one of the big. I mean, they were a minus 1,000 Sunday afternoon when they first got the official matchup. I believe it was, or Saturday afternoon. Whenever they went official, that was the matchup. So for to go down to minus 800 is weird to me. You said 800 or 850. What was it?
Sixers are minus 800. If you're betting that,
it's still high as hell.
You're betting Joel gets hurt in the first game. That's what
I would say. It's still ridiculous. Minus 800 is still out of control, but it was even higher than that. I'm more interested. Well, I'll wait until our next segment.
So are you going to go? You're going 4 games. You're going sweep.
Yeah.
Al,
I got him in 5.
I'm going to go 5 as well.
What was it? Was it Milwaukee and who was the team that they played in the first round a few years ago? And was it Cleveland, or there was somebody? Milwaukee played
Milwaukee.
Yeah, they played someone in the first round, and it was all 4 games were just a joke.
Detroit. That's
what I thought it was. Detroit. Right.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, was it that? How long ago? The pandemic messed all the time up.
I think I was still living in Roxborough when that was going on.
Was it that long ago?
I remember it was the Pistons were scoring like 57 points and stuff.
Yeah, it was a joke.
No, it was more recent than that because I think that was Blake Griffin's Pistons.
Well, one of those years, the Bucks had just made a mockery of that first round against whoever they were playing. I feel like this could be the same makeup as that this round for the Sixers.
You want to know what's crazy? And again, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but let's say the Sixers do lose in the second round. The Sixers have now been in the playoffs, 6 years? 6 straight years, 7 straight years?
Yeah.
And Milwaukee's been just as good over that period of time, and yet we will still have never played them in the playoffs.
Also, even crazier is for being a free throw merchant, Giannis actually shot more free throws this year than Joel Embiid did, for the record.
Shout out to the Jokic fans out there.
Yeah.
Who are all bummed on Twitter. But okay, so we got Sixers in 4, Sixers in 5, and Sixers in 5 here. So should be a pretty easy series against Brooklyn. Let's hope it works itself out like that. But there are a lot more intriguing NBA series, and we're going to discuss all the first round series in segment 2. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to segment 2. We've brought on Liam Devone, NBA guru, to get his expertise on the first round as well. So we're going to jump into the playoffs, which start this weekend. Actually, may start tonight if you count the playing games. And let's start in the Eastern Conference because to me, there's a lot less intrigue, especially early on there. And I want to actually start in the play-in round. We have Miami and Atlanta tonight in a close game as we record. Chicago, Toronto tomorrow. Is there any one of those 4 teams that you could see making any noise in the East? And you could take noise however you want it, whether it's giving a team a problem, winning a few games, winning a series. I'll let you take it from there. Does any of those 4 teams give you any sort of fear if you're a contender in the Eastern Conference? Al?
Nope. Next question. No. Next question.
Anybody?
I think the Heat could win a couple games. I think with their coaching, and if they get a couple of nights where they get hot from 3, I think that they could steal a game or 2 from Boston.
Liam?
Assuming that they're playing Boston, I'm saying.
I would say no, but not necessarily anything against Miami, but just more so how highly I think of Milwaukee and Boston.
Well, remember too, a few years back, Miami they upset Milwaukee. So they
almost made the finals last year. They were a shot away.
Yeah, those 2 teams have a little bit of a beef going on for a couple times over the last several years. So
yeah, but the year Milwaukee won the title, Milwaukee swept them.
Right.
That was the year after.
Right. So there's some history there. I think they could win a couple games against Milwaukee. I think that
if they win tonight, they're going to play Boston.
If they win tonight, they would. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're down right now.
It looks like 8 right now.
Yeah.
To me, Miami, I'm not scared of this Miami team. For whatever reason, it just doesn't seem to be their year. They're 25th in offense, 27th in 3-point percentage, 17 and 24 on the road. They're starting Gabe Vincent and Max Strus. I know they'd started those guys last year, but it doesn't seem to me. To me, the team that intrigues me, and I'm not even sure that they're going to get there, is Chicago. But when I say intrigue, I'm saying they might win a game, and they could be physical enough to stay in some games. And I said they've been good since they got Beverly. They got a couple defensive players. They got Levine and DeRozan who could score. But that's you putting me in a box and saying pick which one of these 4 teams you like the most. I don't like any of them.
You think the Bulls are more dangerous than the Heat?
I don't think they're all shooting Nerf guns if you ask me. But yeah, I'll take Chicago.
The Bulls have been better on paper than they have on the court all year long, though.
I mean,
I think they've been better since they put Beverly and who else did they put in the starting and Caruso in the starting lineup defensively. They've been pretty good.
Yeah, I think they've been all right. Really, even since I have to pull it up, but they've been pretty decent. I think since the All-Star break, even I don't think they've been as bad. I mean, they were awful in the first part of the year.
Oh, terrible.
But and also remember Toronto's length. Toronto can maybe give somebody a little bit of a headache with their length, and if they can get some shot making going on with OG and Van Vliet and those guys and those boys, as Stephen A says.
But at the end of the day, we're talking about maybe stealing a game.
Yeah, I don't think they'll win a series, any of those teams. But
so we can kind of pass over. We're all taking the Bucks and the Celtics to beat whoever they play in the first round.
A little sneaky Passover mention there.
I see you play. I see you.
And we all have already taken the Sixers. Liam, I'll give you your quick. You give me a minute spiel on the Sixers Nets, and what do you see? What do you like?
I got Sixers in 5. Half court offense for Brooklyn. I'm not sure who they got. Some offensive guys like Dinwiddie and Bridges has been awesome since he's been there, but to do it consistently in the series, I think if we keep him in the half court, we'll be all right. They got no one. We have Claxton after that. I don't see anyone else could even match up with Joel at all. I got Sixers in 5. I give them a game in Brooklyn, maybe game 3.
Liam, your boots on the ground in New York. Anybody? What's the?
I'm
vibe?
going to game 3.
What's the vibe out there?
They're all Knicks fans.
Yeah, that's about right. Brooklyn's all fabricated.
Good. Yeah, they're hype about that series though. I'm going to game 3 though.
For the Sixers game? Or Sixers?
Yeah, I got tickets for game 3.
I'm sure there'll be a lot of Sixers fans in there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Liam, good segue. Let's get to the one East series that I think has some intrigue. We have the Knicks and the Cavs. The Cavs are minus 205 in Vegas. Knicks at plus 172. Obviously, you have the Donovan Mitchell storyline all offseason. Donovan Mitchell's going to be a Knick. Donovan Mitchell's going to be a Knick. Donovan Mitchell's going to be a Knick. Donovan Mitchell's a Cavalier, and now is going to be going into the Garden for this playoff series. For the Knicks, Julius Randle is the really big question mark. Sprained his ankle on March 29th. Has not played since. Not sure what his status on the playoff series is going to be. If he does play, probably not 100%. Cleveland, the number one defense in the NBA, 31-10 at home. My question to you guys, and I have a few, but who do you see, if assuming Randall is not 100%, who's going to create offense for New York outside of Jalen Brunson? Can you count on Quickly or RJ Barrett to take a step forward? Because I don't really see much other offense that's going to be able to be generated from the New York Knicks.
No, it's not going to be enough. And you said if we're assuming that Randall's out, which is right, it sounds like he's not going to play.
Or then, even if he plays, he's not going to be right.
Right. And against the number one rated defense in the league, I just think it's the Knicks, unless Jalen Brunson goes on some historic Vince Carter AI type series, which, I mean, look, he did drop 48 in a game against them in the regular season. And the Knicks are a good road team, but I just don't think at the end of the day they have enough firepower to go toe to toe with these Cavs. Not yet, but it's a good draw for them. It's because they're playing an inexperienced Cavs team. Obviously, albeit themselves, they're inexperienced as well. But I hope it's a good series, because this is the only one of the four series that I think has any chance of being competitive.
There's something about playoff basketball in the Garden when they were there 2 years ago with the Hawks, the Trae Young series.
Yeah.
The Garden was electric.
Yep.
I expect it to be like that as well. To me, Donovan Mitchell is just too much. He's the best player in the series. Brunson, I know Chris has flip-flop done a 180 on Jalen Brunson since his podcast started.
No, I have. He's earned my respect. He's actually a bargain now.
Absolutely. But Mitchell has proven it in the playoffs. I've seen it. He's averaging 36 points per game over his last 7. The Knicks got a couple bodies they can throw at him with Grimes and Hart. But at the end of the day, I just think Cleveland has a little bit more than New York has. So I'm taking the Cavs in 6.
I believe they split this year.
I think you're right.
I'm looking it up now. Knicks won. No. Actually, the Knicks
won 3. The Knicks won 3.
The Knicks won 3 out of 4. Where New York at? I'm taking the Knicks in that series. I'm going to go 7 games. I'm gonna take them in 7 games. Actually, you know what? I'll take it back. I'm taking them in 6 games. They're gonna win it at the Garden. I'm a quiet Knicks supporter.
Yeah.
Because I love, like you just said, Seltzer, that environment is awesome.
You love Brunson.
Garden, dude. What'd you say?
You rather have Brunson or Harden for the Sixers right now?
Brunson.
Woo!
Brunson. Yeah,
wow.
I've seen the light on. I've seen the light on Brunson.
Liam, what do you got?
I'm gonna take the Knicks in this series. I like how deep they are. When you're saying the offense question, I think it's gonna have to be Quickly over RJ Barrett. But RJ Barrett, I think if he makes jump shots, that changes everything for them. But he's gotta make them. And then we had talked about it all year, kind of how the Cavs because in like today when usually teams have so many guys you can shoot, they share the floor with 2 bigs, one who doesn't shoot at all, one who doesn't really shoot it well, and Mobley, Allen, who doesn't shoot it at all. See how that plays out in the playoffs.
But do you trust? Again, it comes down to shooting. I look at Brunson. Brunson's a decent shooter, but he's more of a guy who likes to get to that elbow and get to the rim a little bit. And they've got those 2 bodies in there with those 2 long arms, and they're tough to finish over. That's why they're number 1 in defense, because of that length.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I just think that, like I said, the Knicks won 3 out of 4 this season series, so they know how to play the guys. Brunson he's already shown that he's a weapon in the playoffs, especially in the past. I mentioned to you before, Seltzer, I don't buy into Donovan Mitchell. I just don't.
I know you're not.
I don't buy into a guy that scores 30 on 28 shots.
That's the guy he used to be, though. He's not that guy anymore.
Yeah.
Who are the Cavs going to play on the wing? Like, they have a couple guys. I guess it's like Okoro is who they're looking at, but I mean, that wing spot for them to get some production out of is kind of a toss up.
It's been a problem for them all year.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm not Liam. I was about to say like
Lamar Stevens or Koro, Seti
Osman.
Osman, but like he's probably going to have a tough
they'll
time.
use Levert.
Yeah, they do have Levert.
if you do a good job on Garland and Mitchell, I don't think that I think the Knicks are deeper than the Cavs.
Agreed.
Yeah, the Cavs are a two-man offensive show.
Yeah, I think they're deeper than the Cavs, and for me, that's the difference. If it gets to 7 games, I think it could swing because, like you said already, Celtic Cleveland is really good at home, so I think that could be a big positive for them in that situation. But I don't know if it gets to that. I think New York can win this series.
All right, so we got 2 Knicks. Al, who do you got?
I have the Cavs. I have the Cavs in 7, but I think it's going to be, like I said earlier, mentioned it, like a big back and forth series with Mitchell and Brunson just trading blows.
It's going to be a war.
I'm excited to watch that series.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, me too. It'll be a fun series.
All right, let's.
I think I got the Knicks. If RJ Barrett makes jump shots, if he shoots like I think he shot, I just looked it up, 31 on the year. If he can shoot 35%, say this series, and he make like 2 or 3 a game, I think I got the Knicks if he can make jump shots.
Is the city out, is that city out on Barrett being up there?
No, they like him, but they just they're like he's just like a role player. They basically
They want more.
They don't know he's their 3rd best player.
They
love Grimes though. They love Grimes.
Yeah, and that I don't get that. But I love Quickly a lot, and I feel like Quickly is very close to Maxey. Do you think that you get that vibe up there with the fan base, with the Knicks fan base on Quickly, as far as being like the guy that the fan base loves?
Do they love Quickly?
Yeah.
Yeah, they love Quickly. They like Randall too. They always just think he does too much. I know some people I was talking to are like hoping this injury kind of is like a blessing in disguise. Like he kind of is like, oh, I'm hurt a little bit. Now I'm only 80%, so I have to defer a little bit. But it actually makes the team better because he's not out there trying to do everything.
I think, especially given the matchup with Evan Mobley, it's in his best interest to not overdo things because I think Evan Mobley could eat his lunch on the defensive end. Mobley's not ready. Mobley's not ready offensively, but defensively he is.
Yeah.
Let's move to the West because we got a couple other series to get to, and the West is so intriguing because there are so many. Everybody's got warts, man.
Wide open.
Everybody's got warts. But I want to start. Al, you said it's wide open. Can we all agree before we get started? These 3 teams are dead to rights: Minnesota, New Orleans, Oklahoma City. No chance of winning the first round series.
And the Lakers.
I'm not ready to say that.
Well, I'm not either. And I'll tell you what else. On top of that, I'm flipping LA colors on my prediction for the year. I think the Lakers might have a run in them.
A run of what?
I think they got a run in it. LeBron. King LeBron.
Wait till you hear my Grizzlies Lakers prediction then, Chris.
Will you trust the Grizzlies to beat AD and LeBron?
I got Memphis sweeping the Lakers.
Oh my!
All right, well let's start there. That was going to be my second. That was going to be my second poll. But let's start there. Can the Lakers make some noise? I got some stats. Lakers 16-7 since the All-Star break.
Talk to them.
Including some significant time missing LeBron. That's the best record in the West. Mm-hmm. Since Anthony Davis has come back on January 25th, he's played in 31 out of 34 games, and they are 20-11 when he's played. The Lakers have the type of team that can give Memphis some problems with their length inside. Now, again, we're assuming the Lakers are going to win tomorrow and actually play Memphis because that would obviously change if that doesn't the case.
Tonight.
You're right. Tonight. Can the Lakers make noise in the playoffs? I got Al's answer already. He says no. We'll get back to him in a second. Chris says yes. Liam, where are you at?
You asked me if I think they're going to beat Memphis.
I said, can they make some noise?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely do. I definitely think they can make noise.
Here's just for noise. They're going to win the West. They're going to win the West.
What?
Hot take Chris said They're going to win the West.
So let me get Chris. Chris, how confident are you? And we're going to talk about this again in another series of mine. How confident are you that Anthony Davis can stay healthy for a playoff run?
Well, they don't have back-to-backs in the playoffs, and he
know.
hasn't been playing back-to-back. So I don't. I mean, look, that's the same question we have with Embiid, right? So
Right.
we have to assume that he'll stay healthy, just like they have to assume that AD will stay healthy. I think that all the statistics you just said were all the reason why I'm going with that prediction I just said as far as the Lakers making a run to win this conference. They are, let's not forget LeBron. I mean, in a historical year for Embiid and Jokic and Giannis and all the other guys that had great years. LeBron had a great year this year too. Being when he's been on the court again, but that's when he's been on the court. Obviously, he didn't play nearly as much as other guys, but he's still LeBron. And I think it was earlier this year he made that comment about like this run this year is going to be like the biggest testament to his career, and everybody laughed at him because they were like, "Bro, you're like the 11 seed right now. What are you talking about?" All of a sudden, now they're the 7 seed. And I think they got a really favorable matchup with Memphis. Al, I don't know what's what you got going on out there on that deck you on or whatever. If there's some smoke coming somewhere or whatever, but to say that they're going to get swept.
Yeah, Al, spit your truth. What do you see?
Oh, what do I see? I just see a Lakers team that looks old. That Father Time is undefeated. And I see a Memphis Grizzlies team that, quite frankly, was one of the best teams in the NBA all season long. Now, I know that they have their issues, they have their problems, and they're limping into the postseason with everything going on, not only on the court, but off the court. But for me, this is more of Chris. I guess we have two hot takes on the Lakers in this segment here, because this is more of a hot take for me. I just think that at some point it comes to an end for everybody. And this is the year where it comes to an end for LeBron. I don't think AD is necessarily healthy or can stay healthy. I don't think he's the tour de force that he used to be. I think he was a big integral part of the championship run in the bubble, and I don't think he can play that way anymore. And even if he does, let me ask you guys this: Steven Adams' health. What's going on with him?
He's out.
He's out. Right? He's done.
Playoffs.
Yeah.
Al, you're breaking up a little bit.
All right. Well, then maybe the Grizzlies maybe they win in 5 or 6.
Listen, the Lakers, like you said, Seltzer, they've been the best team in that conference since February, and it's been under the radar. And I think now is the time where they're about to pick it up a notch. To be honest with you, I couldn't be on a further different page than Al on this.
It's crazy we've gone this long and nobody's talking about Austin Reeves.
Yeah,
he's
great.
He's kind of corny, but he can ball.
He's their third best player without a doubt right now.
Yeah, and I mean Vanderbilt will be a key guy.
He's gonna get so many open shots, and I mean I don't want to make it come down to just making shots versus not making shots again, but I feel like him making open threes is going to be a big part of that series.
The question though is who on the Lakers can check Ja?
Or
is it just Anthony Davis meeting him at the rim?
I was about to say, I think they're just going to play rim defense.
Who they going to put? Schroeder? He's going to be guarding them?
Or can Vanderbilt guard him with length?
Yeah.
Those guys are so.
If Vanderbilt's as good as they say on defense, which everyone says he's like one of the best, he should be on in them.
Those guys are savvy enough to figure it out. I mean, LeBron's played against better and won with worse than he has right now. And I just feel like that's not a coincidence or an accident that they've won 16 of 23 games since the All-Star break. After an abysmal early part of the season when they didn't have everything together, they had the Westbrook situation still playing out, the whole thing with the injuries. They're getting a little bit healthier. They don't have that distraction around them. Obviously, it's paid dividends. There's only one team in the West I think that could really push them, and we'll get to that. I'll release that when we get to that series. But I love the Lakers right now, and I hate to say that because I'm not a Laker guy, but I got a feel about the Lakers right now.
So I think we're all on the same page in that we're rooting for the Lakers to win tonight because we all want to see Lakers Grizzlies. I'm going to stick with
Lakers.
Al.
Denver would be good too, though.
I actually want to. Yeah, I actually want
Yeah,
to see LeBron
Lakers-
knock Jokic out. To be honest with
Yeah,
you,
that would be
there's nothing that'd be better than having Jokic eat the friggin' pavement and be out in the first round as a 1 seed.
The West, like, I don't really think you can get bad matchups. Like, there's multiple that are good. No matter
Yeah,
how
I mean,
it
whoever the
pans out.
Lakers play is going to be good. It's just the Minnesota, New Orleans, Oklahoma City matchup is
Like,
going to be a
Even
wipeout.
in the second round, everyone's like, "Oh, I want Warriors Grizzlies rivalry." But I'm like, okay, you could get LeBron, Steph, like that's awesome too.
Right.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
You guys are
I'm-
disrespecting Memphis, though. You're
I'm,
under.
What do you mean?
I'm
What
sticking-
respect
Al, I'm
do they
sticking
earn?
with you, but I'm taking Memphis in 7. I don't think it's a wipeout by any means. That's going to be a dogfight.
Wait a minute.
I'm going to
What
go with the young
respect-
pup.
What
I'm taking
respect
the-
does Memphis earn?
They're the 2 seed in the West.
What does that mean this year?
What's it mean? I mean, you're always talking about the Sixers being so high and mighty in the regular season. What's that mean?
They weren't even as good as the Sixers were this year.
That's okay.
The
That's
Sixers
fine.
would have been what, the 1 seed or right under Denver if they were in the West.
So they would have moved up
It
one
would have
seed.
been the 1 seed in the West.
Like I don't know, man. I don't think that Memphis. That's the problem with Memphis. They think that they should have everybody's respect, and they have done nothing to earn that.
Well, Dylan Brooks has already called out the Lakers. So
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they have done nothing to earn anybody's respect.
What-
Dylan Brooks said he's sending LeBron home early.
Guys, he's a clown. And why would you give LeBron bullets? Like, why would you do that to of all people?
Yeah, dude. The maturity of Memphis has always been an issue. The exact quote was, I wouldn't mind facing LeBron in a 7-game series. The legacy is there. First time back in the playoffs, knock him out right away. It'll test us good. They got good
Wow.
pieces and players. That'll be a good first round matchup for me.
Get your boy Al.
What do you want him to say? Oh, it's going to be great to play LeBron and lose to him.
No, but it'd be great to play a legend, and we'll see what happens. We'll see where the chips fall. You're
Yeah.
literally gonna call like LeBron's probably like, all right, we're gonna see.
All right, we got 2 other series to break down. So we
I
got
got
two-
I got Lakers in 7 for that one.
all right, so we got 2 Lakers. You guess how many games?
6.
Okay, we got Lakers in 7, Lakers in 6, Grizzlies in 5, and Grizzlies 4. You're sticking me going back?
He wants to sweep.
Yeah,
I'm going back.
and
I like that. I
then
like that comment.
I got Grizz in 7.
Sold me.
No, I might be hyped for that more than the Sixer series at this point.
Riding
All
with
right.
Dylan Brooks.
Let's get to the 2 series that
One
are.
Seltzer, one more thing real quick.
Yep.
Another thing I was talking about with Memphis, they're going to also be without Brandon Clark too, which hurts their defense.
Yeah, he's been out for a while though.
Dude, but I'm saying all those things being said and Adams being out too, the Lakers are licking their chops for that series. I'm telling you now,
Oh yeah, they're dying to get in. They've been ready to play playoff basketball for a month.
licking
now.
their chops.
Before we get into that, anybody want a quick 2 minutes on Rudy Gobert and the
Oh.
debacle that is the Minnesota Timberwolves?
I'm so
Is it a
happy.
worse? Is it a worse trade than the Russell Wilson trade? At
I
this
saw
point?
you tweet that on our account.
What, I mean, they gave up the world for him.
I don't know why. I can't stand that dude.
It's like
He's the
4
biggest fraud in the NBA.
It was 4
Did
first picks, I think, right?
Here's why it's a worse trade than the Russell Wilson trade, because there were many people, us included, who still thought Russell Wilson can play. Everybody knew outside of Minnesota what Rudy Gobert was and had seen him get exposed time after time after time. And it was bound to happen again. And his
He's
own
so
teammates don't even
overrated.
like him.
So overrated.
Did McDaniels punch the wall because
Yeah.
of that?
Yeah,
Or is
that's a whole nother thing.
Oh, yeah. So
That team's a hot mess.
Yeah.
Like, remember when they
Yeah,
last year? Was it last year when they had the celebration when they won the play-in game and they went all nuts and Beverly was crying and whatnot?
Yeah, they were
I
jumping
think-
on tables.
Yeah.
I think not having him is a bigger deal than not having Gobert. But
I would imagine they're going to get real
I would-
negative tonight.
I would agree, but without Nas Reed, too, they really have no size other than Cat and
Yeah.
size. But McDaniels is also a big loss. Let's get to the other series. Let's go Clippers Suns 4-5 matchup. Clippers are plus 330. The Suns are minus 450. The Suns are the favorites to come out of the West in Vegas. Kevin Durant has played 8 games for Phoenix this year. They are 8-0 when he plays. Here's the list of opponents that they've beaten. Denver twice, both times without Nikola Jokic. Charlotte, Chicago, Dallas, Minnesota, Oklahoma City, and San Antonio. So have not really been tested with Durant. Kawhi, on the other hand, a very under the radar, massive season. The second half, he was really, really good. 24, 7, and 4, 51 from the floor, 41 from 3, 87 from the line. The X factor in the series, no Paul George. Most likely.
Is he definitely
Most
out?
likely.
Okay.
What'd you say?
I was going to ask you, is he definitely out?
For game one, he's definitely out, but he's trying to come back. Either way, he has a sprained knee, been out for a few weeks. Who you got? Where's your thoughts? Where do you lean on Clippers Suns?
I mean, you know, from my predictions.
I saw
Too many at once. Chris, you go first. You were in first.
No, I was going to say real quick. When I was talking earlier this year with the previews and stuff, and I was high on the Clippers, so I'm going to stay with that. But that hurts to not have Paul George, a lot in this series. If that's the case, I'm not big on the Suns. I'm not buying in. I get the whole Durant thing. He's trying to chase another ring down. I don't buy into that. I don't think Phoenix is as good overall as they've been in the past, even with Durant.
Al, you were jumping in.
Yeah, I don't know. I think my connection's not good, not great. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you're all right. You're breaking up a little bit though.
No, yeah, just pass on to Liam. I'm like delayed. I'll move.
All right. Liam?
I got the Suns in this one. In 6 games. Yeah, I like Phoenix in 6. I think if Durant plays doesn't miss more than 1 game in any of these series. If he misses like 2 games in a series, then maybe. But if he plays all of them, but maybe 1, I got the Suns coming out of the West.
They seem to be the favorites because there's not a ton of other options. Everything in my gut from what we've talked about in the past tells me to fade Phoenix. Again, we've talked about adding a key contributor at the trade deadline has not worked in 30 years, 20 years. And needless to say, adding your best player at the trade deadline, that's a big ask. And now you have the fact that he's only played 8 games. That's even more of a question mark. Chris, I got a question for you, Al. I don't know if you could hear us still out there or what's
I
going
can
on.
hear you.
Liam, I asked you this question, so don't answer. Let these guys give it a shot. I saw a stat of players that played 500 minutes of basketball this year. So players in regular rotations. PJ Tucker had 21 made field goals at the basket. So I'm talking about layups. There was only one player in the NBA who had less. Do you know who that is?
Al, you want to take a shot at it?
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
I can hear
you're
you.
all right now.
Oh, Steph?
Not Steph.
Chris Paul?
Chris Paul. Chris Paul had 12 field goals at the rim the entire season. That to me is a little bit of a red flag.
But why? That's not his game.
But you got to be able to get to the rim a little bit. 12 layups the entire season,
especially as a point guard.
I don't know. I consider that to be like playing within himself.
Yeah, he's definitely within himself, being 38 or whatever years old he is at this point.
Al,
you're the same people that gave Ben Simmons a pass for not taking threes all those years.
Al, PJ
Tucker. You the same people. I ain't never given him no pass.
Al, Chris Paul had 12 baskets at the rim this year. PJ Tucker had 21. Think about how few baskets PJ Tucker had at the rim.
And he probably should have had 41. He missed about 20 of them.
Well, listen, I was going to say earlier, just my quick little rundown here of this series. I saw a stat that without Paul George, with just Kawhi on the floor, the Clippers are just barely above average as far as their scoring. And then with neither on the floor, they are like well below average. Like it's like minus like 12 or something like that. I can't remember the actual number. So I think that it's too much to overcome without Paul George having to go up against a KD, a Devin Booker, and a Chris Paul.
I agree. I have Phoenix in 7, but if I was a betting man, plus 330 intrigues the shit out of me. Let's be real. we're not putting enough respect on playoff Kawhi.
No,
We've seen it in
I was
person.
about
Like
to
we've
say
all
that.
experienced it. Like, is there a world where Kawhi can put the clamps down on Kevin Durant
I
to
was
a
about to
certain
say,
degree?
yeah, I was about to say playoff Kawhi is a whole different breed. I like the Clippers in 7. I'm gonna stay with the Clippers. I like them in 7 games. And I would like them in even less if Paul George was playing more than what he's going to play, if at all. But even still, with that, I'm just like I said, I'm not buying the Suns. I just don't buy it.
I'm not that big on it too. There's also one other name that we haven't brought up, which is crazy at this point. It's Russell Westbrook. That may be the reason that I'm leaning Phoenix in 7. I don't trust Russell Westbrook in the fourth quarter of a playoff game. He's been okay for the Clippers so far, knock on wood.
I was going to say, I told you when they got him, he was a good fit for the Clippers.
I looked at the numbers. The counting stats are basically the same. He was 16, 6, and 7 in LA. He's 16, 5, and 7 for the Clippers. He's a little bit more efficient. He was 1.13 points per shot in LA. He's 1.22 with the Clippers. But dude, do you trust him with the ball in his hands with 4 minutes to go in a close game? That's my question to you. If you're a Clippers fan.
I mean, Kawhi's not going to have the ball in his hand in that situation.
Well, that's the problem. We saw that in Oklahoma City. Wasn't the ball supposed to be in Durant's hands and it would be in Westbrook's hands?
Yeah, no, someone had to have learned from something by now, right? Like he had to. I mean,
know, dude, I don't know, man.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine.
Any thoughts on Westbrook?
No, I mean, I think he's going to have to be their prime second leading scorer of this series for them to win. I guess maybe Norman Powell, you could argue, but I think he's going to have to play second. I think he's going to have to give him 20 points a game throughout the series, semi-efficiently for them to win.
I just don't know if he has that in him.
I don't know either, but I'm more.
Because who else would be the guy who's going to give you, Kawhi does this thing, say he scores 27, 28, 29 a game. Someone else needs to score 20 plus. Is it going to be Norman Powell? Is it going to be Russ?
30 in them, like that one game he had.
Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of
Russ's numbers are a little better though, ever since coming to the Clippers.
Yeah, he definitely was not a fit for the Lakers.
I'm just thinking. I think he's a better for this series, especially. He's more of a weapon defensively that can help the Clippers out more so than offensively. I think because you can at that point, you'd have him on. I would imagine you'd have him on Booker.
No, he's going to guard Paul. I think they have too many long wings to guard. Like you're going to see like the Batums.
Why wouldn't you put Batum? Why wouldn't you put one of the older guys on Paul, especially if he's not going to the basket?
I think Booker. I don't think Westbrook's that good of a defensive player.
Really?
No, yeah, I'm not a. I think Westbrook guards Chris Paul. I think we're forgetting some wings on the Clippers, and I'm going to go.
Norman Powell,
Terrence Mann,
Small. I think you'll see some Man.
Eric Gordon.
I forgot Eric Gordon's there.
Gordon could be a little bit.
Marcus Morris.
No, I don't think if Marcus Morris plays, they got no shot.
Reggie Jackson.
What about Rocco? Any Rocco?
No, we good.
But
maybe they bring him out for a play. Who knows? Maybe they dust him off for a playoff series. I don't know.
And Bones, guest boy Bones, who was also fighting with Mason Plumlee the other night.
Well, can you blame him? I mean,
Bones is a problem. Bones is a problem. So, all right. So, final call. I'm taking Suns in 7, but I don't feel if I was a betting man, I'd take the Clippers because it's plus 330. Really good value.
Yeah, I have Suns in 7 also, but I almost might say Suns in 6. I'll stick with Suns in 7.
Yeah, I'm gonna say.
I got Suns in 5, maybe 6. I'll go 5.
I'm gonna say with the Clippers. I'll ride a little move here. Clippers in 7.
I wish Paul George was playing though.
Yeah, me too. Because Paul George is. I mean, he's what 21.
He still might. He's only out game 1. I think he suits up at some point.
Yeah, 21-8 career in the playoffs, and he's. That would help a lot for that, and he could defend too. Not as good as he used to be defensively because of the injuries and everything else. As far as his his movement, things like that. But he still can get it done.
Who do you guys trust more to be healthy through, like just in general, Durant or Davis?
Durant.
Yeah, I'd say Durant.
I'd say Durant just because I think he's going to Durant's able to suit his game where there's less contact. Davis is getting banged around inside a lot more contact. But before we get into the last series, we can officially say it's going to be the Boston Celtics and the Atlanta Hawks.
That's a great matchup for Boston.
Yeah, Boston wrecks them.
There might not be. The Sixers and the Celtics might go into that second round both 4-0.
Very, very possible. Let's go to the last one, which is probably the series that intrigues me the most. I'm very curious to see how it plays out. The Golden State Warriors and the Sacramento Kings. Warriors as underdogs are minus 260 in Vegas. Kings at plus 215. The Kings have the best offensive rating in NBA history this year.
Warriors as favorites.
Warriors are favored. They're minus 260.
We came to see the Kangs.
Sacramento Kings.
The difference in minutes played by the starting units in this series is remarkable. The 5-man starting unit for the Sacramento Kings played over 900 minutes together. That's 160 more minutes than any other 5-man unit in the entire NBA. They were really healthy the entire season. No major injuries to that 5. On the flip side, the Golden State Warriors lineup that played the most minutes only played about 300 minutes together. So there's almost a 600-minute gap between those two lineups. However, when those 5 guys play, and I'm talking Curry, Thompson, Wiggins, Green, and Looney, the Warriors' net rating is about 9 points higher than any other unit in the entire NBA. But that leads us to the question of, is Andrew Wiggins going to play? What is he going to be? He's missed, 2 months of basketball with a personal reason now at this point? Warriors also 11-30 on the road. Sacramento has not made the playoffs in 16 years. That arena is going to be jumping. What are your thoughts on Kings and Warriors? Liam, you can start it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good series. Wiggins, like you touched on, is definitely a big deal. I'm going to take the Kings. Yeah, I'm taking the Kings in this one.
Taking the Kings, huh?
I'm taking the Kings in this one, yeah.
Kings are a little bit of 2017 Eagles, a little disrespect going on for the Kings. But I mean, I think that there's a reason for that though.
They can match the Warriors' firepower on offense. So like you said, they got a lot of guys who can fill it up.
There's I was saying earlier, one team that could win the West, in my opinion, other than Al's Lakers, is the Warriors, because the Warriors have not lost a series with a healthy Clay, Steph, and Draymond in the series.
Draymond Sabonis will be a great matchup.
Who they when they were all healthy? Who they lose to?
2016 Cavs beat them in the finals.
That's true.
Not in the West.
That was the only team. That's the only series they've lost together, though.
I would say, but in the conference playoffs, they haven't lost.
And to be fair, Draymond got suspended for a game.
Right. So
Draymond Sabonis is going to be a matchup.
I have in my notes that's the key matchup to me in the series.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Fox is, I think, going to kill them though.
Unless Gary Payton plays.
Huge pickup.
Oh yeah.
The experience with the Warriors over the Kings is huge.
Yep.
In this situation, and that's the difference for me. I think the Kings is a great story. I think it's a win in itself that they got here. I don't see them getting by the Warriors. I don't see that at all.
But at all. One thing the one thing that's worse about the series, it's going to be on so late, and I'm not really going to be able to stay up for some of the games.
Yeah, that's
the Kings.
It's so funny. I always say every playoff that I'm going to watch a ton more. Even the West Coast will stay up, but like even tonight, like I'm not staying up to watch.
They got such a bad draw. Like if they drew the Grizzlies, I'd take them over the Grizzlies.
I think they could. If they got the Clippers, I would take them over the Clippers as well. It's a tough draw, but
the Warriors, I think, have the edge in every matchup. Every matchup, starters, every position, bench. They're expecting Wiggins to play. Yeah. Even DiVincenzo's looked good lately. I mean, Poole, Peyton, like you got so many players in that team that just know their role. They do it well. They're a machine. And the Kings, it's their first year, man. We talk about experience all the time in the playoffs. They don't have it.
But that's kind of, I disagree with you there, because Fox hasn't been there. I'll give you that. But Sabonis has played playoff basketball before. Harrison Barnes won a championship. Kevin Huerter played in the conference final. He's gone further than Joel Embiid has. Matter of fact, game 7, he dropped 30 on the Sixers.
As a team, as a collective team, though, the experience in those spots is not there yet.
Sure, I get that.
Sabonis hasn't played in a playoff with expectations. Herder hasn't played with where he's actually a piece.
I disagree with that. He dropped 30 on us in game 7.
He was a similar role in Atlanta. That's just shoot the ball.
But I understand from a Sacramento standpoint, the expectations are higher. Again, the expectations weren't that high in Atlanta when Herder was there.
They also have Matt Dellavedova, playoff experience.
Especially against the Warriors.
That shot, that set 3-point shot.
Here's my question. The thing that I can't get over. Why were the Warriors so bad on the road this year? Why are they 11-30? And tell me why that Sacramento arena may not be the loudest in the playoffs this year.
That's a great point.
Maybe they were partying. Don't Steph and Aisha have some kind of deal? Maybe they were partying.
Aisha probably got she probably got in some 5-star restaurant kitchen where they're on the road and did her little thing. That's a great point, Seltzer. I didn't even think about that as far as, and they were even worse than that record because I think they did have decent at the end of the year on the road. It was even worse at the beginning. It was like 4 or 5 wins at one point for a long time.
A long time.
But again, and what were the odds again? The Warriors are what in this series? Minus what? 3 something?
Minus 260.
Minus 260 is it's not insurmountable, but it's not nothing either. That's a pretty decent, especially for a 6 seed.
I can't imagine there's been a 6 seed in NBA history that's been as favored as much as high as that is.
Especially not from because of an injury or something drastic. Yeah.
Look, it's going to be ultimate flip the switch. I know Golden State has played better recently, but again, that 5-man unit has not logged a ton of minutes together, and Sacramento's has. And chemistry, sitting here saying chemistry matters, like the Warriors haven't played together for years and can't
say that's not
at a moment's notice. But I think the Wiggins piece is huge. Like, what Andrew Wiggins are you going to get? Because if they don't have him, their perimeter defense is not very good. And you're facing an offense that can score baskets. So it's just a matter of what are you getting from Wiggins, and can Draymond Green really put the lockdown on Sabonis? Because Sabonis has been awesome this year.
I'll say the more important piece of this series, this story, is what the hell is going on with Wiggins, like as far as off the court, because there's been a lot of drama and reporting that we don't know what's true, what's not, and it's got to be deep for him to be missing months for a personal family matter.
So the most recent thing that came out was that his dad is really sick.
Okay.
So I thought he said that, but I could be wrong. I just came across that on Twitter.
Because there was a lot of, throughout the last few months now at this point, there was rumors about everything from what you said to him having a baby with another woman to his wife having a baby from another guy. All kind of stuff's all over the place right now with that situation. And it's a shame because when you're not transparent, people run with whatever they want to run with.
Yep.
And that's why transparency is everything. You think those guys would learn from that and know that by now, but I guess some of them don't really care to be transparent for no reason. But it saves them a lot of headache for people speculating a bunch of BS if that's what it is. But it's got to be heavy regardless. That's a lot.
He hasn't played in a game since February 13th.
Yeah, it's been a couple months now. And literally 2 months on Thursday.
At the end of the day, though, at the end of this series gets to a game 7, who do you trust? It doesn't matter how loud that arena is going to be for the Kings because the Warriors have been there and they played in loud arenas and they played with their backs against the wall. The Kings have not.
And I was at Wells Fargo for game 7 in 2021, and that building was rocking, and it didn't matter. At the end of the day, old boy still passed up the layup, and we still went home.
Mm-hmm.
I got Warriors in 6. I wanted to go Kings really, really badly, and I couldn't do it.
I had the same thing.
I got Warriors in 5.
Kings in 7. I think, Adam, you touched on it. This definitely puts, the flip the switch thing you said. A lot of people are like, oh, the NBA regular season doesn't matter. We'll just get to the playoffs. And you have a team who's been there and kind of was just like, all right, who wants to sit out tonight? some of their best players. It doesn't matter. We'll be there in April and May, and a team which the regular season really mattered a lot for each game for the fan base. For them, it's like a big season to rack up some wins and see what they have. And now we're here, and it's like, okay, did those first 82 actually matter, or is this really? It's going to put that like whole thing to the test for sure. If the regular season really does matter, or the Kenny's teams really just turn it on. But you do have to believe the Warriors are one of the teams that can turn it on. But I'm taking the Kings.
All right. So we have 3 Warriors and we have a Kings. I want to get to our NBA Finals picks, but before that, we did a minute or two on Minnesota. I want to throw a minute or two to the Dallas Mavericks.
Yes, thank you.
Your pick to go to the NBA Finals.
I think I rescinded that the next week. I said it was a panic pick.
That was rough.
What when we talk about the Sixers organization being a bad organization, Dallas was just running to the ground in about the last 12 to 15 months. Now they still have Luka, so they'll still have a balloon or a buoy, depending on how you want to say it. But dude, that couldn't have gone worse for them. The way that right between losing Brunson, trading for Kyrie, now they're sitting here. Who knows what's going to happen?
Well, dude, what were they doing? They were benching dudes in a playoff run.
So because they owe, if their pick ends up.
No, I saw that. It's a trade.
The Knicks pick 10 or worse.
10 or worse.
Or 11.
So if they land in the top 10,
worse.
they keep their first round pick. And Mark Cuban was basically like, this team ain't making noise in the playoffs anyway, so let's try and get our draft pick.
Well, then why are you even trying for? What does Kyrie Irving's trade mean then?
Well, I mean, I think this is all reactive to the way they played at this point. They were trying to make a move.
But I'm saying, like, if you think that even at the end of the season, like, you don't think you can get hot in the playoffs with those two, why even make the move?
I think they had seen enough at that point to know that it was all looked good on paper when they made the move, and then the Kyrie factor, man.
Yeah. Where's he? Well, I guess we could say that for another day. But you think he stays in Dallas?
No.
Where the hell is he going to go at this point? Who's doing this experiment again?
Just like Dallas,
somebody will take him. Go to the Lakers. I think he's definitely going to the Lakers.
But I thought he was going to go to the Lakers on the deadline. To be honest, I was surprised he didn't.
There's already Luka rumors of a trade at the end of next year, so maybe that's why the Sixers try and stack some assets and trade for Luka. That'd be sick. No shot. Yeah. But let's go to our NBA Finals pick. We'll start with Al. Al, give me your Finals pick.
This was hard. This was really hard to do, and the West flip a coin, flip 2 coins. I feel like. So I have Bucks over Suns in 6.
Bucks over Suns in 6. Okay, Chris.
I go to Liam because I don't even know how I'm going to format this.
How you're going to defend your Lakers pick? Your Sixers over Lakers and
Liam, who you got?
I got Celtics over Suns.
Okay, we'll say how many
6 games? I don't know. 6.
I'm going to, and I can't stand that I'm going to make this pick. I'm going Celtics over Grizzlies in 5.
Damn it, Al.
Guess is going Nuggets over Sixers in 4.
No, because I said I had the Clippers for all year, and then I just swapped LA colors this week because I just love what the Lakers. I love their matchups. I love what they're going forward, how they're going forward. But then I say that I think the Sixers are a team that I just have a feeling they're going to have this run. But Boston is also the best team in the league, so I can't. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't want to root for the.
This isn't what you want. It's what you.
No,
think.
I know, but I'm just trying to make sure that what I say doesn't like. I feel like I'm like playing checkers and I have no move to make. Like I feel like I'm at that situation. I guess
the guest fan base is yearning for the Sixers pick.
Yeah, but I don't believe that's what's going to happen. But based on what I've already said, I kind of have to pick it.
But guess we all know what we all want to happen,
right? But I said I think that they're going to go to the conference finals.
That's okay. You can take it.
So if they go to the
change
conference
your
finals,
mind.
I think they match up well with the Bucks. So if they beat the Bucks, I said whoever wins the East is going to win the title this year. So I guess I have to go with what Al said. So I'll go with Al's pick.
There you have it.
I go with the Sixers over the Lakers in 6 games.
The Sixers NBA champion.
Like, I'm trying to say somewhat consistent with what I already said.
You're staying consistent with your brand, and we respect
I'm not
it.
doing what you act like the teams that like, we haven't gone to a World Series and the Super Bowl in the same calendar year.
Yes, all I'm saying is, as a podcast, we've only been together for 1 Super Bowl, 1 World Series, and 1 NBA Finals, and you've picked the Philadelphia team to win all 3.
And I've been right in 2 of them.
You haven't been right
now.
at
I'm saying as far as going to it.
I'm saying winning it.
What are you gonna do?
But, any closing thoughts before we get to the first beginning of the playoffs? No, we talked it all. All right. Well, we want to thank Liam for joining the podcast. We're going to be right back with segment 3, where we're going to talk Jon Rahm and the green jacket, as well as some Masters controversy this past weekend. So we'll be right back.
Yeah.
Welcome back to segment 3, where we're going to recap the Masters. And Al, you and I, we tout ourselves as golf gurus, but my man Chris, he gave us 3 picks last week. Jon Rahm, Brooks Koepka, Victor Hovland, and you looked at the leaderboard all week. Those were the 3 names up top.
You nailed it.
And I even said about Hovland, if he could play golf like in between the tee box and the greens, he would be there. But he did exactly what he always does, which is not be able to play between the tee box and the greens.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, all season long, I've been saying that you literally just should bet Jon Rahm and Scotty Scheffler every week. There's no reason not to do it.
Yeah, Rahm is awesome.
They're in a class of their own right now. It's unbelievable.
Jon Rahm, 4 putts the first hole of the tournament.
Double hot mess.
He gets the shit end of the draw, weather-wise, where he has to play in the worst of it. And he still wins the tournament by 4 strokes.
Yeah. What do you do with that?
He was as dominant. He, to me, is the best golfer in the world. Him and Scotty are 1A and 1B. But to me, Scotty may have him a little bit in ball striking, but Jon Rahm has him in putting, and it's not really close in that department.
I agree with that.
That's where I'll take Rahm all day. Rahm gets his 2nd major to go along with his 2021 U.S. Open at Torrey Pines. And, I mean, the door's wide open at this point. I guess we can start with this. Al, your boy Rory didn't show up, but which golfer do you see completing the Grand Slam first that's active? So, Chris, to give you just a little bit of background, Jon Rahm now has a Masters and a U.S. Open, so he has 2. Rory obviously just needs his Masters green jacket. Jordan Spieth just needs the PGA. Brooks Koepka needs a Masters and an Open championship. And then you have Scotty Scheffler, who only obviously has the 1 at this point in time.
You're forgetting Kyle Morikawa too, though.
Kyle Morikawa as well.
PGA and the British.
Correct. He has the 2 as well. Who do you see moving forward as the best shot to complete the Grand Slam?
Well, more to come on Rory McIlroy, that fraud, later on. But he's definitely not my pick because he can't play at Augusta. He stinks. I don't care about last year's 2nd place. He melted in 2000. What was it? The Charles Schwartzel year. When he had what was like a 6-stroke lead heading into Sunday, 8-stroke lead. It was big.
It wasn't 8, but it was high.
It was big.
He shot 80.
Yeah. I think it's in his head. I think he can't play. I think that course doesn't match up well with him for whatever reason, and he would not be my pick. Look, the pick has to be Jordan Spieth because he's only 1 away. It has to be. Arguably, it's the hardest one because the PGA, I mean, everybody goes and plays in it. So if you're looking at it from a field perspective, you could potentially make an argument that that's the hardest one to win. But Jordan's back to playing pretty good golf. He's obviously not where he was 7 and 8 years ago, and I don't know that he'll ever get back to that. But he's playing good enough golf where when the putter gets going, when he can keep it on the damn hole, the tee, the hole that he's playing, he's a threat to win. So give me Jordan Spieth with Jon Rahm right behind him.
I echo that. I have no additional insight. I mean, I think Jordan could win a PGA in the next year or 2. He seems to be back in that stretch. But listen, if Rahm pulls a PGA or an Open championship, it's that door's that this year. That closes quick.
What does Rahm have to still win?
Rahm needs a PGA Championship and a British Open.
I think he could win them both this year.
Wow. I mean, very well could.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily bet against it, but that's a tall task.
Yeah, I think he could. I mean, again, not being a golf expert by any chance or any means, but I'm surprised at how efficient and effective his drives are with that short, violent swing that he has. Like, I feel like if I tried that, the ball would be like, who knows where.
I'd duck hook the hell out of it if I tried.
It would probably actually be 20 feet from the tee because I probably would have topped it or whatever. But I mean, and I tried to look to see if other golfers swung like that when I was watching, because I watched 85% of the Masters coverage, I'd say this weekend.
A very limited amount of coverage that there was. We could talk about that in a little bit.
Well,
you watched 85%.
I went, yeah,
they showed.
Yeah, I went out and searched to find 85% of the coverage. And nobody has. I didn't think anybody had a similar swing to him. I mean, what do you guys think about that? Am I thinking too much into that or what?
No. It's just
Tony Finau does, Chris. Tony Finau has a very similar swing.
Okay. So if you actually Google it, it's not really like the issue is his backswing is what's short. And I've heard there was something wrong with his legs when he was growing up.
Yeah, I can't remember, but I remember in the past year there was a story about that, and that's why he swings like that.
And his leg flexibility was not there enough to drive it back any further, so he just shortened his swing. He's always been like that for that reason.
It's his hips. His hips aren't flexible.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, because I was watching
hips. I thought it was a leg thing.
How is he so like effective with that kind of swing? And not only that, but how does he not hurt himself more with that kind of swing? But hey, it works for him. Then if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Wait a minute. He has a clubbed right foot.
Yeah, that's what it is.
A clubbed foot.
Okay.
What is a clubbed foot?
So clubbed is.
I think Diversa has one. We'll have to ask him. See if he's paying attention to see if he made the 3 this week.
I'm looking at it now. Clubbed foot is where a baby is born with a foot or feet that turn in and under.
Oh, yeah, so like duck foot when someone walks duck footed with their feet.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Not to be confused with the webbed foot.
Oh.
Which is a whole other thing, which is a real thing.
That is a real thing.
Really weird, wild thing that some humans have.
Also true. Well, give me some other observations that you guys had this weekend, and we can get into some of the coverage or some of the golfers you were surprised by. I know Al's going to want to talk live because he's Greg Norman's nephew.
Well, I also want to bring up, Chris, you said that he might win Jon Rahm might win those last 2 majors that he needs for the Grand Slam this year. Do you know how many golfers have 4 majors and not a Grand Slam, just 4 majors? And the exact number, 4.
Oh,
like they've won each one one time?
Yeah. No, just 4 majors.
Oh, in general. Oh.
It'd be like 3.
Like ever, you're saying?
Yeah, listen, there's 10 guys that have 4 majors. There's 10 guys.
Exactly 4?
Exactly 4. But then as you move up the ranks, it's 18, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 20, 29 guys have 4 or more. And now at this point, you're talking either the all-time greats or you're talking the guys that played in the late 19th century.
Right.
So and those guys, I mean, what was the fields like were there like 20 guys in those competitions or what?
Right, yeah. It was a lot.
Rob's going to come close to double-digit majors by the time he's said and done.
Wow.
I agree with 100%.
He's that good.
I think he's that good. That's what I'm saying. I would not be surprised if he won those 2 this year.
He's that driven too. He wants it.
There's just too many factors, though. Like health comes into play. Chris was just talking about the competition is way harder than it was back then to win.
No doubt.
But Al, we talked last week. There's 3 guys that are clearly a step above everybody else, and it's 2. It's not 3. It's 2.
But that's this last calendar year. God, look, I'm a big Jason Day fan. You know that. Think about his run in 2015 when he was number 1 in the world for over a year. He was mowing guys down. He was he's the closest golfer in the last 20 years to put up Tiger numbers during his run. And he walked away with 1 major.
Jon Rahm's done this for 4 years. Jason Day didn't do it for 4 years.
He did it for 2. He did it for 4.
Jon Rahm has been.
He was number
Jon
one in the
Rahm,
world. He was number one in the world longer than Jon Rahm was.
That's fine. Jon Rahm's been the best player in the world probably since 6 months after he came on tour. He's been that good.
It's just there's too many factors, in my opinion. To say he's going to win 7 or 8 or 9 majors, I can't. I don't.
So you're taking history over the individual, basically.
I am. There's too many guys. I mean, look at guys. I talked about this. Will Zalatoris' career might be over, and this time last year, you would have said that kid's going to win 2, 3, 4 majors. His career might be over.
You're taking injury, and I understand that injuries could happen. I'm talking the golfer as he is now, to me, is a 7, 8, 9 major kind of player. He's a generational player.
He is, but that's not how that he might not be that way. He has a clubbed foot. It might not be this way in a couple of years.
If he had normal feet, he'd probably have 5 by now.
He's starting to have kids too. You never know what that's going to do to the man's mentality, his psyche.
Oh man, you're tough on. You're being tough on Jon.
No, Chris said it. I'm siding with history over the individual. I absolutely am. I think it's a really hard thing to do.
To me, and you can say this about a lot of all-time greats, there's no course that he can't take down. You look at
I've never seen Rahm look overmatched by anywhere he's golfed. Like no course to me is like, oh yeah, he can't play here.
Like you look at like a Morikawa, you mentioned him, he's got 2. But for Colin Morikawa to win, he has to putt better than his normal average. For Justin Thomas, he has to putt better than his normal average. For a guy like he
spotted the field, Al, 2 strokes. In the beginning
give me a shorter hitter.
I'm not arguing with what he did this year. Kevin Kisner? I'm not arguing.
A shorter hitter who could win a major. Let's say like a Tom Kim, who may get one in the future.
Sungjae
M. At a U.S. Open, like that course may not suit him if it's 7,600 yards. They might that cancels him out. There's no course in the world that cancels Jon Rahm out. There's just no.
Listen, physically, and when you're talking about the aspects of his game as far as everything that comes into play with golf, driving the ball, striking your irons, wedge game, etc. You're right. He's up there in all of those categories. The one thing that would concern me if I take injuries out of play is his mentality.
I disagree.
If he goes through a cold streak and he starts doubting himself, we've seen him getting.
We just saw him come out of that.
Yeah.
We just saw him have that, and he overcame it and dominated the rest of the way.
And listen,
that's in a vacuum. That's one. I'm saying you guys are saying that he's going to win 10 majors. So I'm trying to project this over the course of the next 10 years.
He's gotten better at that. B, he only gets that way when he's playing bad over a longer period of time. If that's the case, he's not going to win that tournament anyway. When he's playing well and it's going good, everything's fine. And he's shown the ability to bounce back from that now. That's not the same guy he was at the Players' Championship 3 years ago when he made that mistake on 10 or 11 and then it all went in the tank again. He's not that guy anymore. He runs hot, but he's able to let it go, speak his mind and then let it go.
You're basically saying he's going to end his career as the 3rd best golfer of all time.
That's fine. That's fine.
I'm not ready to say that, but that's what you're saying, because if he wins 9 or 10 majors, that's what you would have to say about him. I mean, given the day and age, the competition, that's just something I'm not ready to say.
I'm that bullish on him. I love him.
And you always have been. You always have been.
To play devil's advocate, to support Al's point, Chaz Woods is coming too. So the competition may pick up a little bit even more in the next few years.
Chaz Woods.
How dare you? The disrespect. How dare you?
But speaking of observations, Seltzer, you were asking about the observations. And also speaking to Rahm's greatness this week. I was watching Sunday and as the leaderboard started to fluctuate and turn
Rumble. Rumble.
Well, I'm seeing all these live guys. All of a sudden, we had Mickelson pop up. We had Koepka all weekend. We had Patrick Reed all of a sudden pop up. And I'm looking and I'm seeing they're all chasing Rahm at the end. And I'm like, holy crap! Like this, it reminds me of like the hyenas in the Lion King, like coming up trying to get this top spot. Because it felt like to me, not only did Rahm hold off the competition in the tournament to get the green jacket, he held off the live guys that were his prime competition in that spot. I feel like honestly, and you can take this for whatever what it's worth, but that may have been one of the greatest, if not the greatest, display, in my opinion, of Cayunes that Jon Rahm did. Because just imagine what would have happened if that leaderboard turned. Let's say Rahm did what Koepka did, and all of a sudden the top three, let's say, were Koepka, Mickelson, and Patrick Reed, for instance. What would the PGA have done?
Nothing they can do.
It would have flipped everything upside down. And all of a sudden, the enemy tour just took over Augusta, which is the creme de la creme of what the PGA has to offer. And these guys came in there with their Aces hats and all their little like live merchandise, the memorabilia, and they took your jacket. They took the jacket off your man's back.
But let's be real. It was live golfers. They had an impressive showing, but Mickelson and Reed were not factors. They had a great Sunday. They were never in the mix.
But you never know what the top guy could. He might have fell down.
Yeah,
that's no, but like you know how golf works. It's not always about coming up. Sometimes guys fall down.
You're right. Mickelson did a good job of posting a number, but it was never. Rahm was never in danger of falling back to 8 under.
I mean, maybe that's what Chris is saying. It's like the way Jon Rahm was playing, like that number was never in question. It was never in play.
Right. Because again, like Koepka shot what was it? 5 over?
3 over.
Yeah. He was leaking oil since he didn't play well to close out the third round.
So imagine if Rahm had done that. It would have been a whole different tournament.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
but I don't think Chris, like, there wasn't really dogs nipping at his heels because the only two guys that were in contention were Koepka and Hovland, and they both ended up being two of the 3 guys over par on Sunday that really had a shot. The other one being Patrick Cantlay, who we're still waiting for him to tee off on 16, if I'm not mistaken. Did you guys see that? Did you guys see the number on how long Jon Rahm and Brooks Koepka waited on the tee box of the final round from 1 to 18, holes 1 to 18?
I thought it was like 50 minutes or something like that.
97 minutes was the reported number. They waited over an hour and a half on tee boxes in the final round because they played behind Victor Hovland, who's not a slow player, and Patrick Cantlay, who has regularly taken over a minute over his ball.
See, you do that at Walnut Lane, you're getting dealt with.
Here's my question. Do we need a shot clock?
No, we don't need a shot clock, but we need to enforce the rules of golf. There is rules for pace of play. And here's my thing, Al, the healthy majority of this comes on the greens, and that's where it needs to be sped up. I know he takes a while over his shots, but a lot of players have gone to this aim point putting where they start, standing near the hole with their feet looking like this, and that takes forever. And that's where we can pick up the pace of the game is on the greens. And does the other parts need to be sped up as well? Yeah, but I don't think you're ever going to get that. Again, like the more money these guys play for, the longer they're going to take because every shot has importance. Again, Patrick Cantlay's out of the tournament, but he's hitting shots for hundreds of thousands of dollars still, and that's important to him. And he's played at this pace for however long, and nobody's told him otherwise. So he's going to do it. And it's bullshit.
Yeah,
it's a horrible watch, and it's wrong to the guys that are in the lead that they have to sit there and wait for that long. But until the rules are enforced by the PGA Tour, it is.
I just don't understand why Patrick Cantlay gets a pass that other guys in the past, including my boy Bryson. The minute
wasn't he known to be
stop? He wasn't. The minute he started doing it, everyone attacked him. They were all over him. His name was out there as a sloper. Patrick Cantlay has been slow for years, and this season and at the end of last season is the first time you're hearing anything about it. Let me be clear about something. Patrick Cantlay has the most punchable face on the tour, and he's a piece of shit. Okay, let me be clear about that. I can't
you've been on Cantlay forever, and the heat's coming now. Like it's there.
It should be. He takes dude. If you search Patrick Cantlay slow play on YouTube, you get videos of him taking over a minute over a ball in the middle of the fairway at crap tournaments. Like this dude's a joke. This dude's a clown. They need to start calling him out on it.
What sucks is I'm actually want to bet him in my pool this week because he's played really well at Harbortown, but I'm concerned that this pace of play thinks he's going to be in his head.
I will never bet him. I bet him once ever, and it was what brought my attention to how slow he plays. It was like 5 years ago I bet him, and I had to watch the final round. It was 6 hours of golf, and he lost.
Well, wasn't DeChambeau's thing because didn't it come to light when there was that? So he went viral when he was like doing all the math and the geometry on the one hole, and he was sitting there talking like a nerd, and nobody went.
Let's be honest. He was an easy target. That's what it was. I mean,
everything was correct. Like he was slow.
Yeah, he was slow, but he did it to himself, being an easy target as far as being able all the math crap and
the mile per hour to knots when he's talking.
Yeah, that's what I was like. Whoa, bro, what are we talking about?
Yeah, like he won tournaments. He was really good for a long time. But Patrick Cantlay wins one one FedEx Cup and gets a cool nickname, Patty Ice. And now everybody acts like he's not taking minutes over the ball.
Al, you got Patrick Cantlay here, and you got Rory McIlroy here. You're going to get rid of one of them. Who you get rid of?
Cantlay. Cantlay.
No,
without a doubt. I hate him.
I'm getting rid of Rory, dude.
Before we get into some of your Rory stuff, can we talk TV coverage for a minute?
What TV coverage?
So listen,
you don't like watching like Tirico talking in the clubhouse about
Scott Van Pelt. Scott Van Pelt interviewing guys when there's golfers on the course.
I had family obligations Saturday morning, and I had a lot of stuff to do where I was not able to get around a TV. My ride home was roughly an hour. I'm driving home and I'm listening to the the beginning of the third round, when they're playing in the rain of the Masters. And the announcers are talking about how bad the weather is, how hard the course is playing. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I cannot wait to get home and watch this. I got home. The leaders were on the 5th hole. It was 2:45 in the afternoon, and the tournament wasn't on TV.
Not till 3:00.
It's an embarrassment. I understand it's all from Augusta, but they need to get with the times.
Why though? What are they doing?
They live on this less is more high ground. It's all based on what Augusta wants. And when they go to rain delay, they start airing TV coverage from earlier that day. So they're clearly recording and broadcasting the coverage. I don't understand why you can't put it on TV.
Yeah, but I've seen this be an issue with other tournaments too, especially majors, where the coverage sucks until a certain time where ESPN or CBS picks it up. Or
it's not as bad as this.
No,
the Masters is the worst.
Yeah, they pick it up earlier for the other ones, Chris.
Yeah,
Adam said it. It's Augusta. Augusta doesn't let anyone cover them on TV because they think that it makes them like more prestigious because it's harder to see.
Well, I will again play devil's advocate. If you are, this is when being a casual actually is perfect, because if you have ESPN Plus and you're okay with watching the leader, the main leader guys or Tiger and his group, you could watch all 18 holes commercial free.
Right.
I watched. That's what I'm saying. Granted, I had to watch on ESPN Plus, but I watched for Thursday and Friday. I watched. It was Tiger, Xander, and who was the third guy in that group? Hovland. I watched all three of them both their rounds.
Yeah,
but if you want to watch, I don't know, if somebody wanted to watch Phil Mickelson, for instance, or I'm just making somebody up at the top of my head. I don't know how you find that, because if nobody's covering, and that's been always my problem with golf anyway. There's so many guys in the tournaments, it's hard to really, unless you're looking at the actual top 5 or whatever. If you're a fan of another person that's not in that top 5, maybe top 15, you can't even watch them play.
Right.
And that stinks. And you'd think at this point in our society, when there's an app for everything, there's a link, a follow, everything for every single thing out here, you think they'd invent a way where you can have an app and click on a player and literally have their streamed hole wherever they're at.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's where I hear you, Chris, but I disagree. I have the PGA Tour Live, so I watch the tournaments on Thursday and Friday. And while I'm not a fan of the late coverage on Thursday and Friday, whatever, it's not that big of a deal. Like, I can stream it. If I'm in the office, I watch it on the computer. If I'm at home, I can put it on the TV. Saturday and Sunday, it's supposed to be your biggest event of the year. Get it on TV. It needs to be on TV. I need to see everybody. The streaming on Saturday, the featured groups did not even include the leaders. You couldn't watch the leaders on Saturday.
Yeah, it's a joke.
On the streaming.
Well, you also got to put into account other programming that's on those main networks too. I mean, are they making more?
No.
Like,
if you're telling me CBS,
people,
if you tell me that they come to CBS and say, "Hey, you can put the Masters on 2 hours earlier," CBS wouldn't be like sick because that's going to outdraw whatever the hell else we got going on.
I mean, I would imagine, but I'm just saying, like they have other, like these other channels have other programming they also have too. So
yes, Sunday morning CBS had on like after the round 3, the end of round 3 coverage, like in between that and round 4 starting. I think CBS had on Jack Hanna's Wild World of Animals. Dude.
Yeah, like
Did you find out about the Barracudas?
And you're listen, you're telling me that True TV can't set aside 2 hours of Impractical Jokers so that we can watch the Masters? Like it has nothing. It's Augusta. They make no money off of their domestic television rights. They don't make a dime.
Yeah, that's the solution now. I think that you're getting at is putting it on sister networks that are less relied upon for their programming at that part of the day.
But again, it's not network it's Augusta. Augusta's not signing these deals for whatever reason. It's insane. I have no answer.
Well, they also didn't let black people or women on their course until like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So
also valid. Al, before you get into your rant, can I give you one name of a guy who's coming? Are you
going to say one Sam Bennett?
No, fuck Sam Bennett.
Are you going to say Sergeant?
Wait a minute. Let my man have his little shine.
Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah, the other amateur that was out driving Rory.
No, a guy he's on tour, but he's coming, and he's got multiple majors in his future. Cameron Young is coming.
Yeah, Cameron Young he's a
Cameron
player.
Young is coming.
Yeah, he looked really good on Thursday. Those first like 4 holes, I think he was 3 under through 4.
Yeah, dude, he's got the whole game. He just got to put it together a little bit. He got 3 top 10s, I think, in his last 4 majors.
Well, let me ask you guys this question for the human element of it. So, speaking of Sam Bennett, you mean to tell me he ain't getting those millions of bucks for finishing in the top or whatever it was, the prize money for finishing in the top 20 because he's an amateur NCAA golfer?
Right. Yeah, he loses eligibility. I don't feel bad for him anymore. He said in the post game, they asked him, they said, how big of a deal would it be to miss out on that money? He goes, NIL's treating me well. That's what he said.
Well, sure. I mean, they said he was going to make a good NIL check because of that, but still, like, that's messed up, man.
Yes. Did you ever hear the story of there's a pro golfer? He's not a pro. He's not on the tour anymore. But a guy, Jason Bone.
No.
He played at the University of Alabama, and he entered a contest. Just like it was like if you hit a hole in one, you win $1 million. And he entered the contest. He forgot about the contest the morning of. He was out like drinking or something the night before. His buddy called him up or something like that and reminded him, like, yo, the contest is gonna come down, goes down. He hits it. They're like, what are you gonna do? Like, you still have like a year left of eligibility. You're playing for Alabama. He's like, where's the check? I'm signing that check right now.
Yeah, no doubt.
He burned his eligibility and just turned pro.
Good for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good for him. And nowadays the NIL, who knows? I mean, I don't know if there's any cap or anything on it. So he might have actually even made more money than he was supposed to make for that. Who knows? But I can't imagine it being. I mean, what's the pot for someone? What was he, 17th?
Yeah, he probably would have made, I would guess, not as much as you think, maybe 90 grand, something like that.
Yeah.
So the NIL is going to probably come in way higher than that.
I would imagine. I mean, if you would have finished second, you're talking about 2.5 million,
right
around there.
Let me watch him for a while though.
Real quick before we pivot, one more thing about the live guys. As soon as they started teeing off, you know when like sometimes you make a prediction and then as soon as the game starts and you watch, you're like, that was so stupid. Why? Like, it was so foolish to think that these guys just forgot how to play golf. In my opinion.
I don't know.
It wasn't when Kevin Na quit after 6 holes to start the tournament.
That's true. But I mean, hopefully no one had Kevin Na on their betting cards this past week.
But
no, I think I even said that.
These guys can still play golf.
I said that like they didn't forget how to play golf. They're still professional golfers.
But you never know what you're getting from Brooks in the last few years. Like you just don't.
He plays well at Augusta though.
But here was my takeaway because we had 18 live golfers on the course. And obviously some played better than others. But my big takeaway after the weekend was I miss these guys. I miss them being on tour and watching them play all together against the best of the world. It sucks. I mean, Phil coming in second. Like Yeah, look, his game isn't what it was, and whatever. However you feel about Phil, put those feelings aside as far as the emotions go. When he won the PGA Championship 2 years ago, that was one of the best runs I've ever watched as a golf fan. It was electric, and
the field felt fuller this week.
100%.
That's all.
Yep. Well, like I text you guys on Sunday, if Tiger came out and ran interference as a wrestling term, interference in the 18th hole
and cashed in Money in the Bank,
and it's Koepka and Rahm, and we don't know who he's going to support in the interference, live or Pete. Like I would have dedicated my whole life to golf. Like I would have dedicated everything. I'd be coming on here with a dry fit Nike shirt, visor hat.
Is it over, or was that just weather related for Tiger?
I hope it was just weather, man. Like I even though you knew he wasn't going to win, I was just enjoying watching him play golf. Honestly,
it's starting to pile up though. I ran that.
I agree.
I ran that poll on Instagram. Will Tiger win another major? And it was 100% no. Every vote was for no.
Yeah, I don't see him winning again. It's
and that's what
it's tough to watch.
It is, and when he was 2 over for the longest, and then he just fell off the cliff in the third round. And when I started to get to 7 and 8, and I was like, you know what, wrap it up. And then
hearing that story that Jason Day, talked about, where at the PGA Championship the screw popped out of his ankle.
How did that happen?
I actually was talking about that with somebody today, and they said they know somebody else that happened to. It's actually not that uncommon. Yeah. That's gruesome, man. That it sucks.
What did he say the injury was?
His plantar fascia flared back up.
Because I knew that. I mean, obviously playing in those conditions, and we talked about it last week. Playing in those conditions is not suitable for a guy that's got joint issues,
right?
With his ankles and his feet and all kind of stuff. His back at one point in his career. So, but like I said, I was enjoying watching my man just play out there. And then when he started falling apart, it was just it honestly was sad. It was like, dude, you got to rep at this point. Just I wouldn't finish. And that's what I kept saying to myself. If I was him, I wouldn't finish at this point. You don't want to go 10, 15, 20. Like who knows what the floor would have been.
Yeah, just pull a Kevin Na.
I was saying just bounce, just what he ended up doing. I don't think that you'll see him again this year still, but I mean he still played good at Genesis.
Yeah, no, listen.
He's got it in him.
He does, but the major
championship, not necessarily to win, but at least to be competitive.
Agreed. I mean, he always will. I mean, he's the best of all time, so he's got the game when he gets it going. It's just again the issue is the stamina and that leg holding up for 4 rounds.
Well, and like you said before, also the amount of time he plays on these courses in this competition around him, he's not getting that like the other guys on tour right now. Playing 5, 6, 7 tournaments a year, you're not going to get the rhythm that these other guys have. It's not.
When he made that run in 18 and 19 Masters, he wins the Tour Championship at 18. He was playing more regularly. It wasn't a full PGA Tour schedule, but he's playing. If the average tour player plays 20 tournaments a year, Tiger was probably playing 12. Now he's trying to play 5. 4.
And I thought it was a win for him if he had just shot even par, coming like just being like literally like, all right, I'll play the Masters. Like, where's my bag at? And going out there and still shooting even par in this tournament would have been. I thought awesome to see,
especially with the conditions.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll wrap it up. Al, give me your little rant on Rory.
Chris, you've heard, right? Because I mean, I texted it to you.
Preaching to the choir to me.
Look, I've been all over him. Rory McIlroy is a hypocrite and a fraud. Outside of Tiger, he's the biggest face and name on the PGA Tour worldwide. He's a guy that you're going to tune in for if you know he's at the top of the leaderboard on a Sunday. The tour can't even get him to play in these designated events that they basically made for him. So these are events that are supposed to showcase the best golfers on tour, and we can't get him to play. And now this is the second one that he's missing, when all I heard about was how he never plays in the Tournament of Champions. So how could we expect that? Well, from what I understand, the rule was supposed to be that all these guys could only miss 1. And now he's missing 2 because he's butthurt that he missed the cut at Augusta.
And clearly didn't even want to give a reason why he was not going to be at the Heritage.
Right. So I don't want to hear any of this discussion of him being, like a good name for the tour and having the best interests of everybody in mind. He doesn't. He's a whiny little bitch, and he's not putting his money where his mouth is. He's the guy that draws interest. He's the guy that moves the needle, and he's staying home. So I'm done with him.
I will say this, and I'm not a Rory fan at all. In fact, I'm right behind you as far as not liking the guy. But I will give him credit. I thought it was cool that he was the first guy to do the interview on the course on Thursday or Friday, whichever one was, as he was actually playing still. That was, I believe, apparently they said that was the first time anybody ever did that at the Masters. So we'll give him credit for that. That was a cool moment. But other than that, I agree 100% Al with what you're saying. He's very much a fraud, and I just can't get behind him. Never could.
I'm with you. Listen, the rules are the rules, and he was the one who came up with them, and he's already breaking them. So,
yeah,
it's not a good look.
It's garbage. It's garbage. So, before we go, guys, the PGA Championship is the next major. We got less than 6 weeks, I believe. Any thoughts?
Cameron Young.
What?
Cameron Young.
Cameron Young.
I was at Oak Hill this past fall, which is where it'll be this year. I played the other course. I don't the championship on the East. It's on the West.
No, the championship's on the East. You played the West.
I played the West.
Okay. Do you remember who? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Do you ever tell me Jason Duffner? Is that what you want me to answer you?
Yeah.
I saw that today. Again, the courses are apparently the other courses a lot more difficult, but somewhat hilly, very PGA Championship-esque. It's pretty open. There's some tree-lined fairways, really beautiful clubhouse, traditional PGA Championship type setup, I think.
Okay.
Cameron Young.
I'll leave you guys with this. If you're betting the RBC Heritage this week, Chris's favorite tournament of the year, just a little tip for you. Whoever you're betting, parlay it if your book allows you with like Celtics winning their series or Bucks winning their series or Sixers winning. Just add a little bit more of that juice for on the comeback there. So instead of getting a Scottie Scheffler at 8-1, you're getting a Scottie Scheffler at potentially 12, 14, 15-1. Every dollar counts. Yeah, you're losing as much as I am.
I've also eaten lunch over at Harbor Town, been on those grounds as well. I'm making the rounds, dude.
Speaking of making the rounds, didn't Tiger make his rounds to Cobb's Creek not that long ago for a charity?
He's being a part of the Cobb's Creek project.
Yeah, he's like taking over. I think they ditched Varner once he joined Live, and now I think Tiger's stepping right in there.
I actually found out last week when I was out with a client that one of my partner's CEO of the company that I'm responsible for is the head of that project.
All right. Nice.
I could get a little insight there.
Maybe they get my black ass out.
Maybe some hookup when some stuff comes around. Maybe they'll buy some. I'll trade some 3K gear for some tickets when they have some PGA events over there.
Well, there you go. Get 3.
I'm waiting to get a driver's lesson from Mr. Eldrick Woods.
Speaking of driver's lessons,
wait a minute, Chris. You got to go to the guy I went to.
Well, what's up?
The guy I went to on Wednesday. I went out and played around on Saturday, and I you might not have seen it on Twitter. Honest to God, it's unofficial because I'm using GPS. I drove a ball 295 yards.
Oh, that'd be really downhill, downwind.
Listen,
what hole? What hole?
There was a tornado warning one of them days.
What hole? What course?
Seltzer, you played Springfield, like back when you were still
I've never.
Oh, you never have. All right. Well, the third hole, it is downhill. It's not drastic, but it is downhill, and it's about 330 yards from the tees to the green, and I got it right to the right side, like right side front of the fringe of that green.
All right.
What happened?
The greatest shot. I made par. Okay. The greatest shot I've ever, greatest driver I've ever hit in my life.
What about the rest of the drives?
So it's a work in progress.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's so uncomfortable. I hit 3 really, really nice drives.
Yeah, dude, the swing changes take time. You got to commit to it.
The huge right slice is in play.
What was the change?
Takeaway. My takeaway was really shallow, really inside. Now I feel like I'm like almost like standing straight up vertical with the club, but I'm obviously not. Like he had me basically just take it back a little more upright. And that was the whole change.
I think when my drive why it sucks so bad is one reason is because I feel like I don't use my hips as much. I use a lot of my arms, which is like kind of like how you would for like an iron, I guess.
No,
But
you should always be using your hips.
You see, and that's why I haven't done.
Yeah.
I'm
I'll tell you what, though,
my
guys.
arm strength, and that's why it doesn't go that far.
Why don't we take this conversation offline?
No. Listen, we need to advertise the 3K golf outing.
I would love that. I'm waiting for you guys to give me my game's in the tank right now.
You're the member. You're the one that you got to set this up.
You guys have the tighter schedules.
Why can't we play it? Why can't we play in a public course? Why we got to go to Bluebell? I'm not trying to hack that course up.
You can play in a public course.
Yeah, I feel a little self-conscious.
All right. Well,
time and place. Cobbs Creek.
Time and place.
All right, let's wrap it up. Chris's Lakers are down 10 early on here. Not a great sign.
They want Jokic.
Yeah, good news is they got a second chance tomorrow, but we'll be back next week. Sixers open game 1 on Saturday. We'll be talking playoff basketball. Let's drop that beat.